This podcast is a proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
Live from the KIJU studios in beautiful Ogasawara, it's the Monster Island Film Vault, episode 112, Ultraman Tiga and Ultraman Dyna, Warriors of the Star of Light versus Rob Buck. Hello, Kaiju Lovers, and welcome to the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu. I am your host, Monster Island's film curator, Nate Marchand. Yes, Jimmy, I still enjoy that part of my job. What are you trying to say? I don't have any side hustles right now. This is my side hustle. I don't know. Is the radio the side hustle? Is the film curation the side hustle? I can't figure it out. Maybe it's two part-time jobs. I don't know what's going on anymore. Hey, no, slander, sir, slander. Don't like, ow. Just, you're giving me a headache, man. I feel a little bit like a certain Miss Repulsa, who is on the board now. She also is trying to get a Krispy Kreme opened on the island. I don't know how that's going to work. How do we even still have restaurant space of any kind left on this island? I swear, the island is always as big as it needs to be. It's kind of weird, but anyway. Metaphysical islands aside, you know, we got a lot to get to today, as we always do. But joining me today is a longtime friend of the podcast, but someone making his very first appearance on the Monster Island Film Vault. It is none other than my friend, the host of the Power Chamber podcast, and possibly the president of the Rito Heads, Rob Buck.
Thank you for having me, sir.
I feel like this has been a long time coming.
It has. We've known each other for a while now. So.
Yeah, and you are also a fellow Hoosier.
This is true. We your hometown, my hometown, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from each other. So
yeah, well, yeah,
it's bound to happen.
My hometown was hopping a little bit there for a while.
Oh, I know.
Yes, I'm sure you saw the news.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just the news. I had an unexpected guest thanks to that.
You did
visit? Yeah. So I'm minding my own business, doing some routine maintenance in the power chamber when I got a new skylight. Compliments of a snarky bonehead crashing into my consoles.
Are you kidding me?
I kid you not. And not gonna lie, Alpha 37 gone. I am now having to rebuild everything. It is taking a bit, but I wanted to be reassured that I would get some spare parts promised me by Rito.
Why are you talking to Rito to get spare parts? You should be talking to Jimmy. See, he agrees.
I know Jimmy, but you know, I'm a guy that I want it by the guy that cost me so much. And right now I'm looking for a specific servo to get Alpha 38 going, and Rito is nowhere to be seen. So I tracked his signature down, and wouldn't you know it, I decided I need to visit my good buddy Nate on the island for the first time. So
yeah, because Rito and some dude named Wade,
yeah,
they have they're the morning show around here.
Really?
Yeah. The snarky boneheads, they've really embraced this. It's a little bit wild, but yeah.
Well, good for Rito, but I need to have a quick discussion with him the next time I see him.
Yeah. Also, apparently the Indianapolis Colts need to sign up our resident Ultraman as their new kicker.
I've been hearing about a new Ultraman showing up. Yeah, I mean,
New Ultraman. I see what you did there.
I try.
That's not the. There we go, Jimmy. Come on. Or when are we going to get used to where all the buttons are with all this new equipment? They changed all the equipment while we were gone, man.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad to see that you guys are doing well with the new equipment, though.
Mhm.
Jimmy, you seem to be. Is that the original mic? Gotcha, gotcha. You know, more things change. That you got to try harder to keep some stuff the same. I get
Oh,
that.
I was thinking the more they stay the same. Yeah, that old cliche. Yeah, for sure. But yes. And I will admit, I had another guest in mind for this episode, but things just didn't quite work out, mostly because he wasn't responding to my messages. So I'm like, well, need a replacement. Who do I have? You know what? I should have that Rob guy on here. It's Ultraman is adjacent enough to Power Rangers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's if we want to make a weak connection, one half of this movie, which is more like 5% of it in actual.
That's being generous, sir.
Yeah, Ultraman Tiga replace. I have no official word of this, but given the timing, I think Fox wanted Ultraman Tiga to be their replacement for Power Rangers because they picked up Ultraman Tiga, had it dubbed by 4Kids.
Larger than life.
Yes. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think they wanted it to be the replacement for Power Rangers because it had just been sold to Disney and it didn't work.
No, but I completely agree. I remember getting a promo VHS because my parents worked at Toys R Us at the time. Both of them did, and I remember getting a promo tape of like, here's what's coming to the brand new Fox box on Fox Kids, and Ultraman was on there, and I was like, this is close to Power Rangers, or at least a lesser known show, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which I later found out, thanks to my conversations with you, was Gridman.
Gridman the Hyper Agent, yes.
Baby Don Don, indeed.
Which is a much better show despite incredible similarities.
So many similarities.
But if you thought Power Rangers was cringy, Cyber Squad will kill you. Let me tell you, I tried revisiting Cyber Squad as an adult, and I'm like, you know what? Power Rangers isn't so bad.
Yeah, it's let's give Zach
Except
Morris.
For Tim Curry as the main bad guy.
Kilo Khan is a great villain. I put him up there with Ivan Ooze. Iconic villains that were not around long enough.
I think most of that show's very tiny budget went to hiring him.
Yeah, it went half.
And maybe who was it?
Matt Lawrence.
Matt Lawrence. I was saying, is it Matthew Lawrence? Yeah, and maybe hiring him, but a lot more to Tim Curry.
Oh man, yeah, that answers the age-old question: what if we gave Zach Morris a power morpher? That's what that show was. It was Saved by the Bell.
I'm waiting for that crossover in Boom Comics now. Power Rangers cross Saved by the Bell.
Oh, absolutely. Screech and Billy would be
and then we do some gimmicky thing where all the characters from Saved by the Bell have to take the morphers and go fight, and it makes no sense, but it's the gimmick.
I don't know. I think AC Slater would be a pretty good Black Ranger.
Yeah, you know what? There's an episode for you. But take Saved by the Bell and figure out which Ranger color and everything. Let's assume it's Mighty Morphin because that's the easiest one to do. If they became Rangers, what are their colors and blah blah blah. That's a discussion.
Hey, Jimmy, what color do you think Mr. Belding would be?
Lavender?
Lavender's pretty good.
That makes no sense. You just made that up off the top of your head, didn't you? Well, at least he's honest.
That is true. Honesty is the best policy.
Yep, so Don Quixote tells me. Anyway, so yes, to get back on track here a little bit, yes, I brought you on to talk about, and this is the full title. This is technically the full title. Ultraman Tiga and Ultraman Dyna, Warriors of the Star of Light.
I believe
but
you.
For some odd reason, because this movie was actually released without the show by Image Entertainment on DVD, and they just shortened it to Ultraman Tiga and Ultraman Dyna, which sounds incredibly generic.
It really does. And what's interesting is the version that I watched called it Warriors of the Planet of Light.
You want to know why?
I would love to know why. That's why I come to
this. This is a translation issue that has shown up in a lot of tokusatsu. It's because the same word is used in Japanese for both star and planet.
That's poetic.
So you have to figure out by context what they actually mean.
Oh, that's oof.
Japanese is funny like that.
What do you mean I have to use context clues in my media? That's
like I said, Japanese is a funny language sometimes. The probably one of the most egregious examples of it is in which one is it? Help me out here, Jimmy. Which Gamera movie is it? I don't think it's the one that's about your life. Oh yeah, that's right. It's Gearon. Gamera versus Gearon. The one right after yours. That in the dub version, the kids keep talking about how we're gonna go visit this star when it's actually a planet. It's because the dubbers just thought that, that must be what it means, so we're just gonna dub it how it is, even though it doesn't make sense. Okay.
I mean,
that's one example. But or like the third entry in the Godzilla anime trilogy. You could also translate. The thing is that this would work too. The official title is Godzilla the Planet Eater. But you could also translate it as Godzilla the Star Eater. And given that it features a very Lovecraftian eldritch version of Ghidorah, yeah, either one would work.
Speaking of Lovecraftian, this movie.
It's actually not the most Lovecraftian of Ultraman that I've seen. However, I have discovered that the Cthulhu mythos was an influence on Ultraman Tiga, the show.
Really?
Yep. That's a discussion for another day. But yes, we're here to talk about this. And this is actually a bit of a seminal movie. This is considered to be, it's not the first Ultraman movie. It's not even the first entirely original Ultraman movie, but it's considered to be the first modern Ultraman movie. Like this set the formula for what it was to come after this, because it's a tie-in with the show, and it had although I would argue that this was at a point where not only are they making movies that tie in with the show, they actually made them look cinematic, which we will get into because the newer ones just look like episodes of the show.
Right.
This one actually looks like a movie, but yeah, we will get into that. And it's actually also considered kind of the first entry in a trilogy, but that's only because the three shows that aired, Ultra series that aired during the 90s, Tiga, Dyna, and Gaia, are considered a trilogy, even though only two of them actually connect, unless you count the Gaia movie, which was slated to be covered on the show, because it's also a crossover. But even more barely a crossover compared to this one.
Oh man,
and I'm already starting everything early. But yeah, so we need to move on from this. But as for our Toku topic, Jimmy, don't start it early. Okay, I get it. It's important to you because people think your wife is also an AI. But no, we know she's not. Okay, the zillion pseudo hive mind doesn't count as artificial intelligence. All right. It's more like a Borg thing. But anyway, neither here nor there. But yes, I will be getting into a brief, hopefully, history of artificial intelligence.
Ooh.
And let me tell you, it goes farther back than you might think. But it's such a wide range that I think I'm going to get 2 more Toku topics if I can slate them in somewhere in future episodes, which we'll get into that. This actually isn't the first time that I've talked about artificial intelligence in connection to tokusatsu superheroes. I also did it on the Power Trip.
I'm about halfway through the episode of the Power Trip.
Or O Ranger. Unfortunately, thanks to Goji-kun and Brokong, the gremlins I call mascots for this podcast, I lost those research notes. So I had to redo them. I'm not
Is
happy.
that what Brokong was? Okay. Okay. No, never mind. He's fine. He didn't do anything wrong. Brokong is a good boy.
Brokong?
Yeah.
Brokong and Goji-kun.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset. Ultramite is not doing his job. He needs to stop making googly eyes at that tiny magical girl who showed up too. I can't even remember her name. What is her name? Anyone remember her name? Serenity? Are you sure? I don't believe you. Anyway. Isn't that's a meme, right? It says, I don't believe you.
I reject your reality.
I know what movie that's from, actually. It's from a cheesy 80s fantasy movie called The Dungeon Master.
Oh, God.
You talk as if you have seen it.
I mean, I have the dice on my arm, so it's... I probably should have seen it. Now it feels like a crime I haven't.
Yeah, well, maybe if we have some time after today's broadcast, we'll slip into the viewing room, not the viewing globe, the viewing room.
Yes.
And watch it. I may have had to include it in an acquisition for the Film Vault.
Oh. Well, then I cannot wait to see that.
Charles Band wouldn't just send me one movie. It's like, it's a package deal. Oof. Nerd. All right, sir. I will take your package deal.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the grand tour. I've been wanting to be here for a while.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You know why we're doing this? I forgot. We're doing this because we are on...
When super is just not enough.
Yes, the Ultra Journey. I should mention that. And speaking of Ultraman Tiga, that was part of the promo for Ultraman Tiga when it was airing in the US.
Oh my God. I'm having vivid flashbacks of it.
The Ultraman rap.
Oh.
I feel like I'm killing you with nostalgia over here.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I've been exposed until this movie. I've been exposed to 3 different Ultramen in different ways. So Tiga, I was introduced to it as a child, as what we just said was clearly a replacement for Power Rangers they were trying to do. Ultraman Blazar, which I was enjoying watching as it came out. I fell off towards the end. I need to catch back up.
It's got our boy Johnny Young Bosch in it.
I know, that's partially why I started watching it.
He's one of the few people who's done the trifecta.
Yep, a Masked Rider, Kamen Rider. Duh.
Kamen Rider, because he was the voice of a rider in a Kamen Rider Dragon Knight video game.
And a Power Ranger, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And and Blazar. And then the third one was the novel Ready Player One, because they don't have it in the movie, but in the novel, Wade, not to be confused with some guy on the island.
The other Wade, some guy named Wade.
was given by one of the other High Five members the beta capsule. So the final fight is supposed to be Mechagodzilla against Ultraman.
I am not going to hit the rant master button about that book. My hot take is that is an awful book, and the movie is better, even though it's only okay, because Steven Spielberg is an infinitely better storyteller than the man who wrote that book.
My hot take is that Ready Player 2 ruined Ready Player 1 for me. So nowadays I prefer the movie.
I am only going to read Ready Player 2 as an excuse to listen to 364 pages. I think that's the correct number. We Won't Get Back, a book club podcast run by Mike Nelson and one of his Riff Tracks writers who read bad books and make fun of them.
Oh.
That is the only reason I kept reading Ready Player 1 after a few chapters.
Oh.
Because I'm like, this is stupid. Anyway, I'm done. Yes, reel me in. Please. Anyway, we need to talk about Ultraman.
Yes.
A couple of Ultraman. But first, I am contractually obligated to read my intrepid producer's entertaining info dump so we can get everybody up to speed on this movie. Ultraman Dyna / Shin Asuka is a positive but often immature pilot in Super Guts who, along with his teammates, goes to a secret base on Koryomo's island to have his experience downloaded from his brain into the computer for the warship Prometheus. After it's revealed to be an evil plot by the Monera aliens, he wrestles with his failure to stop them, thinking he is unworthy to be a hero. Only after regaining his confidence is he able to stand against the invasion. The heroic and powerful Ultraman Tiga appears as a manifestation of humanity's hope to save the seemingly dead Dyna from the Monera and help him defeat the aliens. Deathfacer, which first appears as the Prometheus, is an obedient and relentless mecha created by the Monera for the purpose of wiping out humanity. It defeats Dyna in battle and attacks Japan as part of that mission. The Queen Monera is the collective amalgamation of the ruthless and nihilistic aliens, who seek to destroy humanity because they see them as meaningless. Garanda is the aggressive and resilient kaiju sent as a distraction by the Monera. He battles Super Guts and Dyna on the moon. The caring and boisterous Gosuke Hibiki is the captain of Super Guts who speaks out against the project to create Prometheus, preferring old-fashioned methods, but he reluctantly goes along with downloading the team's experiences. He later gives wise advice to Shin when the young man struggles with his failure and leads Super Guts in a supporting role for Dyna during the climax. Mai Midorikawa is the bubbly and inexperienced communications officer in Super Guts who, against her superior's better judgment, accompanies Shin on a mission to infiltrate the secret base on the island. She's injured during Deathfacer's attack, rendering her comatose, which only compounds Shin's guilt. The brilliant and later guilt-ridden Rui Kisaragi is a TPC scientist who, under the influence of the Monera, developed the Prometheus project as part of their invasion plan. Once freed from their control, she wrestles with her actions as the alien's thrall. Megumi Iruma is the motherly and wise former captain of Guts. She is consulted by Shin while he seeks to contact Tiga for counsel on how to defeat the Monera. Instead, Iruma advises him on what it means to be a hero and later joins the fight during the climax. Super Guts members Toshiyuki Koda, Ryo Yumimura, Kohei Korea, and Tsutomu Nakajima are present throughout the movie but add little to the overall story. The human and Ultra/Kaiju plotlines are unified. The characters' actions, arcs, and development are directly connected to the Monera and their monstrous minions. Ultimately, the Monera are the problem, and the Kaiju and Mecha are their tools. On the moon, Garanda battles Super Guts and Dyna, who are unable to defeat him, but he's killed by a blast from the Prometheus' Neo Maxima cannon. A Monera ship attacks the island base, and Shin transforms into Dyna to fight it. Kisaragi launches the Prometheus, but it attacks Dyna and not the ship. The Prometheus transforms into Deathfacer and, thanks to the data downloaded from Shin's mind, counters all of Dyna's attacks, defeating him after destroying the island with its Neo Maxima cannon. Later, Deathfacer attacks a Japanese city, resisting attacks from Super Guts and annihilating JSDF forces. After Shin regains his confidence, he battles Deathfacer again as Dyna, destroying the robot with new techniques. However, the Monera combine into a queen form and trap Dyna in a vine-like cage and kill him. The problem is solved when the collective hope of humanity, including the supporting cast, manifests as light that coalesces as Ultraman Tiga, who frees and revives Dyna. Together, they destroy the Queen Monera. The script by Keiji Hasegawa is a simple hero's journey with a handful of supporting characters and cameos. Shin/Dyna takes center stage while several other characters, such as Kisaragi, have their own arcs and subplots. Director Kazuya Konaka also supervised the special effects, which are a step up from the Ultraman Dyna TV series, but that's largely thanks to veteran Tsuburaya Productions cinematographer Shinichi Uka. The scope of the movie is impressive, going from the moon to an island base to a city, and features 3 enemy monsters for Dyna to fight. Besides suitmation, miniatures and green screens are utilized to create the effects, all of which showcase Tsuburaya's prowess. Where the effects falter is with the CGI. Despite the use of motion capture for Dyna and Tiga, the methods still look glossy and stiff, and the Monera models look like late 90s video game graphics. Despite this, the excellent sets and practical effects more than make up for it. This is a fairly light story with a moderate amount of gravity. It tackles potent themes and takes the character's redemptive journey seriously. With its giant killer robots, invading aliens, and towering heroes, it's a fantastical science fiction movie. The movie is arguably experimental in that it was the first film to tie in directly to a then-current Ultra series on TV. Aside from that, it's a more ambitious extended episode of the Dyna series. To that end, the movie establishes style for the Ultra series. A tie-in film, whether set during or after its respective TV series, would become the franchise standard going forward, although future entries would vary on how cinematic they would be, with some feeling like extended TV episodes. However, it could be said that, as a tie-in, the movie reinforces the style of the Dyna TV series. The movie was made to capitalize on the previous success of the Ultraman Zerth movies, starting off as another sequel to those, and the popularity of the Dyna TV series. It was intended to entertain kids during spring break, but it likely held nostalgic appeal for parents who grew up watching the Showa-era Ultra series. As mentioned, the movie was released during spring break, March 14, 1998 in Japan, and while box office and budget numbers are unavailable, it was a hit. Critically, reviews were a bit mixed, with the effects and action scenes being praised and the pacing and narrative being criticized. Still, it remains well-liked by Ultra fans. It was released on DVD in America by Image Entertainment May 14, 2002, and by Mill Creek Entertainment, now Alliance Entertainment, November 2, 2021. Aside from being dubbed for the Image Entertainment DVD, there are no changes from the Japanese version. There are several forces at play in this movie. Shin's immaturity sometimes puts him at odds with his teammates. It also contrasts with his heroism. Several characters wrestle with feelings of guilt over their failures, desperately seeking redemption. Meaning and meaninglessness clash as the Monera justify wiping out humanity because they see themselves as superior. Artificial intelligence and human intuition are debated, albeit briefly, when Super Guts has their knowledge downloaded into Prometheus, which is later exploited by Deathfacer. Hope and nihilism battle for the hearts of the characters, especially in the second half of the story. The Monera's mind control infringes on Kisaragi's free will. There are a handful of potent themes in this movie. Shin's childishness gets him into trouble. Human intuition and prowess are valued above technology. Humility and determination are exemplified by Shin as he seeks help from Tiga and later Iruma. By extension, the wisdom of elders is respected. Several characters seek redemption and eventually find it. Most potently, a vehement anti-nihilism sentiment permeates the movie. Hope is shown to be the light within every human, which can overcome any and all obstacles. Let's get into this Titanic team-up, even if the crossover lasts all of 3 minutes. See what I did there? With some Toku Talk! Is that bumper music a nice nostalgia shot for you, too? That's also... that was in the 4Kids version of Tiga.
Yeah.
Exclusive music. That dub is ridiculous, but I did actually like the new music cues.
It's bringing me back. I'm wanting to watch this and Kirby right back at you.
And then what else did they have? That Ultimate Muscle.
Oh, Ultimate Muscle was my jam. I watched that more than Ultraman.
I can't remember. I just remember Kirby right back at you, Ultraman Tiga, and Sonic X. That was another part of the lineup. And yeah, and Ultimate Muscle. I think that was most of it. That's all the ones that people remember.
Another category, Ultraman and Ultimate Muscle.
Ultimate, that is true. That is true. There's a crossover that would be a little terrifying. But anyway.
The Kinnikuman Legacy.
Kinnikuman versus Ultraman. You see Kinnikuman go over and grab Tiga by the heel and still successfully suplex him. Makes no sense, but anyway, so let's talk about this movie. But in order to talk about this movie, we first have to do a little bit of something I like to call
previously on Ultraman. In the 21st century, Guts, Global Unlimited Task Force, discovers the statues of 3 giants of light in a strange pyramid under attack by a pair of malevolent kaiju. 2 are destroyed by the monsters, but the third, who is named Tiga, merges with Guts member Daigo Madoka and defeats the beast. Daigo later learns from Yuzare, an AI model after Captain Aruma's ancestor, that Tiga protected the ultra-ancient civilization 30 million years ago, and that Daigo and Tiga are one and the same. Tiga defended Earth from all manner of monstrous menaces. All the while, romance blossomed between Daigo and his teammate Reina until he confronted the last great evil, Katana Thor. The Eldritch Beast killed Tiga, but the collective faith of humanity restored his light energy, and with a final burst of power, he destroyed Katana Thor. Daigo, no longer able to transform, was embraced by Reina and applauded by his teammates. 7 years later, humanity has entered the Neo-Frontier era by exploring outer space, and Guts has evolved into a new team called Super Guts. The team's new rookie, Shin Asuka, is lost during a training exercise in space where he bonds with Ultraman Dyna and miraculously survives. The nefarious aliens, the Sphere, attack a human base on Mars, and Asuka's unwavering determination transforms him into a new giant of light. While he had a penchant for showing off, Asuka learned many lessons from his teammates and his many battles against aliens and kaiju, maturing him into a wiser warrior. And now, the next chapter.
All right. Now that we've gotten everybody caught up on what happened in the show, this is a tie-in with the show. Whenever we have to do a tie-in movie with a television series for Ultraman, I'm going to do that. Now, to let everybody know, but this takes place during the show. A lot of times what they do now, most of the time, Super Riot Productions, is that the movies are after the show. Right. But this one was actually set during it, specifically the range that is given. Let me look this up really quick because I don't remember what Jimmy had in those notes because I'm a terrible host. It takes place between episode 26 and 30. However, this movie released on the same day as episode 27.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very, you don't hear about that often. Because nowadays, like what they usually do is you have your show and then the big finale, you have the movie. So yeah, just putting it in, it's in the middle towards the end, and like the same day, if you can't make it to the theater, don't worry, we have a regular episode.
Yeah. Well, also, as was mentioned in the entertaining info dump, the reason they did that was they were trying to hit a specific release window, because the movie was released during spring break for the kiddos.
Gotcha.
That's why they did it.
Could you,
and at that time, Super Raya was producing 50 episode seasons, whereas now they do 25 episodes. So by the time the movie comes out, the show's done.
right.
So that's why it's a finale movie.
Could you imagine if season 3 of Mighty Morphin premiered the same day, or if episode 2 of season 3 premiered the same day as the movie?
Don't you mean more like episode 4?
Let's see. Friend in
because
Need.
because the first 3 episodes of MMPR season 3 aren't even a proper season premiere. They're a backdoor pilot for Masked Rider.
This is oh my gosh!
We don't talk about Masked Rider.
I forgot it was a multi-parter.
How could you forget? You're going to cover it on your podcast very soon.
Well, here's the thing, sir. I had a database for all this, but then some skeletal soldier crashed into everything. So it's a little hard to remember stuff when I don't have it backed up.
Yeah, well, knowing him, he's going to try to get himself onto your show. He's going to hijack. I'm warning you right now. He will hijack your show because you're about to get it to his introduction to the world.
Jimmy, do you have his location yet? Getting donuts for, okay, sure. All right. Okay.
I thought the Krispy Kreme hadn't opened yet. Jeez.
Would that honestly stop him if it wasn't open? Yeah. So.
No. Anyway. So preparing for this episode, was this your first time seeing this movie?
So this was absolutely my first time seeing this. I watched the first episode of Tiga and the first episode of Dyna just to kind of get my bearings a little bit. And then
but you grew up watching Tiga. You had some familiarity with
Tiga.
Tiga.
I grew up, but it was I think I could recall maybe rewatching the first episode. I was like, okay, I remember this. I remember Guts. I remember most of the plot points, but towards I want to say I only got 4 episodes out of watching it as a kid, because then it was Ultimate Muscle. And at the time I would go over to my grandmother's for her to watch me and my brother. So it was okay, well, they've got other stuff that they want to watch, and I get the TV for Ultimate Muscle and Kirby. So my history of Tiga is very scattered. And then Dyna is because these two are so similar in costume.
Dyna is a sequel to Tiga,
right.
Direct sequel.
Right. Yes. So that was a little easier to follow. That, okay, this is Guts, and then we have Super Guts.
Yeah. This, because Dyna takes place, how long is it? I think 7 years after the end of Tiga.
Okay.
And it's part of the same universe. They have their own continuity. It's called the Neo. Was it the Neo Frontier?
The Neo Frontier. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That explains a line that the captain says in the. Okay.
Yes. Also, just to make it even weirder, some sources claim that this movie that we are covering takes place in 2018.
I must have been in hibernation. Okay. I miss so much.
Join the club. But yeah, I saw this for the first time while taking my journey through all of the Mill Creek, now Alliance Entertainment releases of Ultraman. However, I was told that the movie had been compressed very, very hard onto that last disc because it was a DVD release, not a Blu-ray, and it looked awful. So I tracked down the Image Entertainment DVD, which I remember actually seeing on the shelf in some stores when I was a wee lad, and I'm like, but I wasn't into Ultraman at the time, so I just skipped over it. And to be honest, it's a little weird that they put out that movie and not the show. And I'm not saying it's completely inaccessible if you've not seen the show, but you definitely get a lot more out of it if you have seen the show. Regardless, I got the Image Entertainment DVD, so that thing is now archived in the Film Vault twice. I just wish the Image Entertainment disc didn't look like a bootleg. It looks like a bootleg on the front anyway. The back looks fine, but the front looks like a freaking Blu-ray. I mean, excuse me, a freaking bootleg. And they also released the Ultraman Gaia movie, and it also looks like a freaking bootleg. But yeah.
That's honestly how I feel about the newer release of the MMPR movie, because they're using one of the posters of all the helmets, and the logo for the movie is different, especially on the spine. And I'm like, this looks like you just went into like Microsoft or Adobe Photoshop and just made a cover and said, go ahead.
Well, that was Shout Factory. Look at half of their Sentai DVD sets.
This is true.
If not all of them. But anyway. So that was my first exposure to this. And I'm going to address the elephant in the room. This promises to be some epic crossover, and it's very oversold. They honestly could have cut Tiga's name out of this title, and I don't think it would have affected much. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure the U.S. I am sure the U.S. release for the next Ultraman movie I'm going to cover, spoiler warning, Ultraman Gaia, The Battle in Hyperspace, they cut it down to just Ultraman Gaia, even though in the Japanese, they also threw in the names of both Dyna and Tiga because they're in it too. But it's like this one, they just show up at the end.
This brings up, I'm a Doctor Who fan, as are you, sir. It brings up the idea of the 10-year anniversary being the 3 doctors, and you got the 3 doctors kind of. One is deteriorating health-wise, so we have them on a screen for a little bit, and then the 4 doctors only had 2 or 3 doctors come.
It had 3 of them.
And then
no, it was the 5 doctors. It was
the 5 doctors. 3 of them came back. 1 had to be replaced because the actor had passed away.
He had died, yeah.
And 1 had to be clipped in with archival footage of an unreleased
Yeah, because it was Tom Baker, which the most iconic one, which was a bit tragic. And the funny thing is, Tom Baker, after he watched the episode, he's like, I should have said yes. He regretted not being in it.
But after not being able to get, I believe the story is they could not get Chris Eccleston for the 50th anniversary, so they didn't put the number of doctors on it, so it's just Day of the Doctor. So
yeah, and then they did some weird stuff with that, but
blanket.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It makes thematic sense, and I like it in terms of theme. What they do with this, it's a little bit weird because it's Tiga, but it's not Tiga. It's basically the humans, because they all carry light inside themselves, which is a thing, particularly in this iteration of the Ultraman mythos, because the Ultraman franchise is vehemently anti-nihilism. Vehemently anti-nihilism. So they basically, by sheer force of will, combine their light together and they manifest Tiga to help Dyna out. But it just amounts to he frees Dyna from the Queen Monera. The subtitles I saw had it as Monolith. There's a little bit of confusion there. He frees Dyna from the Queen Monera, revives him because of course he can.
Of course.
Ultraman is like Superman. He invents superpowers when he needs them. And then they do a couple of cool moves, kill the monster, and we're done. And he has a grand total of maybe 2 minutes of screen time. And they make you wait until all the way to the end while interacting with other characters from the show who aren't Daigo.
Yeah. In all honesty, because I had not seen all of Tiga, so I didn't know what had happened of Daigo. For a split second, because they had been talking about Tiga so much, and then Aruma disappears and walks away out of the room, I thought maybe she might turn into Tiga. But then she goes flying in to assist with the Super Guts team, and I was like,
which is a nice crowd pleasing moment, but
yeah, it's Lando showing up with the Falcon. It's
yeah. But here's the thing, and I'm not going to get into it because we will be, spoiler warning, we will be covering the Tiga movie because the Tiga did get a proper movie a few years after this. So we'll get into it more there. But Hiroshi Nagano, who played Daigo on the show, the official sources that I've looked at have said that he was unavailable because he was on tour with his band, V6. But I'm still going to blame his talent agency, Johnny's, because we hate Johnny's around here, especially if you're an Ultraman fan. They're the worst.
The only
and
good.
You'll understand why in a few episodes when I talk about Tiga: The Final Odyssey. But they also managed his band, who also did the theme song for Ultraman Tiga. So even though they're saying like, oh, he was touring with the band and there was a scheduling conflict, they couldn't get him on. I was like, I don't care. I'm still blaming Johnny's.
Yes.
Because the original version of the script, it wasn't Aruma, it was Daigo. And that's the thing. Once you know that, and even if you're just savvy enough, I know people think that the term media literacy is a bit of a dirty word, and I can understand that. But if you're savvy enough, you can kind of pick up on that. You could tell that was Aruma was not the original intention. It was and then what makes it even worse is that most of the rest of the cast from the show shows up at the end for a cameo.
Yeah.
Which just makes Nagano's absence even worse, especially since his freaking wife and child show up.
The minute that little girl showed up and her mom,
which is Reina.
Yeah,
that's Reina from the show.
And Reina and her daughter show up, and Aruma goes, "Is that you and Daigo's child?" And she goes, "Yes." I was like, "He's not here, is he?" And then the other rest of Guts show up, and I'm like, "So this whole movie, I've been waiting."
Yeah, and you can tell that this was originally supposed to be, and it fits so perfectly because we have Shin Asuka, who's our hero in this. He's a goofball. He's being very unprofessional. He's making faces at the camera at the start. He gets his butt handed to him, even though he's got, 25 plus episodes under his belt at this point, being a superhero. He gets his butt handed to him by Deathfacer, which is a kind of epic metal name right there. Deathfacer. You know what? No. We got to do this properly because I got funny new tricks I could do with the new soundboard. Thank you, board. This is one of the few times I will be nice to you.
Deathfacer. Oh man, what a name.
Yeah. Seriously, what a name. So he gets his butt handed to him. And he's like, I can't be a hero. I suck at being a hero. And they're like, no, you can still do this. The nice and pretty girl. She's like, you can still do this. I know who you really are, but I'm not going to say anything. And I probably have a crush on you, but I'll never say a word. And then she almost dies. She ends up in the hospital. So she gets sidelined for the back half of the movie. But anyway, he's like, I got to go figure out how to be a hero again. It's like, you should go talk to Tiga. well, where is he? We don't know. So he's like, well, I'll go talk to the captain of Guts. Maybe she could point me out. He's like, I don't know where he is either. But I could tell you a few things that we learned from Tiga. And you're like, this is the point where like, this was supposed to be Daigo. This was supposed to be, he gets counsel from Daigo. And then he's like, I can go be a hero. And then Daigo would probably be like, nice job, dude. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
The aliens pulled their trump card. It's fine. It's a boss battle, suckers, as Deadpool would say. And he's like, I'll help you out. And instead, we get this thing, and it's cool. However, this is just a repeat of the finale of Tiga. They did the exact same thing in Tiga, and it had incredible resonance in Tiga. And I get it. It makes sense to do it again here, but it lessens the finale for me because they did that. But to be honest, I think even if you didn't know that, even though this is when Tiga shows up and it's supposed to be this big epic moment when the other hero shows up and we have this team up, the stuff with Deathfacer is better.
Yeah.
The effects are better. The fight's more interesting.
The whole ending screams of you have a good ending of Asuka realizing he can't do this alone, and like the light is pushing him on to keep fighting, and it's great
in true Rocky Balboa fashion,
But then it's like, hey guys, we forgot to put Tiga in here. We mentioned him a lot. We should probably add him. And there's another monster.
Which becomes the thing. This was the first time they did something like this. It's not the first time we had this gigantic monster at the end. Actually, the first Ultraman movie I covered this season, the animated one, The Adventure Begins, which was actually made by Hanna-Barbera. They did it first there, but that was animated. This starts the tradition of having the giant final boss kaiju in an Ultraman movie. That's what most of them start doing going forward. And I'm going to be honest with you, especially if you watch Battle in Hyperspace has a better final boss.
Okay.
The Monera were far more interesting before they turned themselves into a giant whatever the heck.
Yeah, I will definitely check that out because I did like bits of this movie. It was just the ending I felt was kind of overkill.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
I felt like it had a lot of momentum, narrative momentum. Even when we get to the parts where I'm like, yeah, this was supposed to be Daigo, but it's not Daigo, but it's still moving along very nicely. And then I felt like it hit its crescendo when Dyna defeats Deathfacer, and then the Queen Monera, even though it's supposed to be this dire moment where Dyna is, for all intents and purposes, dead. And then Tiga shows up, like, he's not quite dead yet. He's only mostly dead. And does some roundhouse kicks to free him and magically revives him. And then they do this ridiculous, like, double ultra punch into Queen Monera. It's supposed to be this big moment, but it just felt like the wind was just taken out. And I think it was the absence of Daigo first off. And
yeah,
like the story was basically done at that point.
Yeah.
At least for Shin Asuka, it was done.
Right. Yeah. If anyone ever asked me for an example of Deus Ex Machina, it would be this ending.
I don't think it's quite a Deus Ex Machina. It was set up, so it's not out of nowhere.
It's like, oh, he's powered down.
But when you know it's just a repeat of the Tiga finale and was done because they couldn't get Nagano.
Yeah. It's
just kind of takes it out. And like I said, I preferred the effects for Deathfacer. It was just more interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that it's mostly practical. I'm going to be honest. This is at a point when CGI, especially in stuff with lower budgets, is a little bit awkward. You'll appreciate this. My friend John has a chapter dedicated to this movie in one of his books. Compared the CGI in this to MMPR the movie.
Hey, now. Ultraman had a little bit better CGI than that.
Not by a lot, though.
I will say there were points, especially in the beginning fight, where because I watched this with my wife, who's very gracious to be like, yeah, I'll check it out with you. We were both humming the Power Rangers in Space theme. Just the whole time, just set controls to.
You throw Astronema into an Ultraman movie, I'm going to forgive a multitude of sins.
This movie has everything.
You aren't allowed to bring up blue wigs and black leather, sir.
Jimmy, get the bucket of ice water ready.
I get it. She was in charge of PR, public relations, on the island for a bit, okay? Okay? Don't make this weird. See what I have to deal with?
All the time.
All the time. But yeah, the practical work on this is definitely a lot better. But I will say this, even with the wonky CGI that occasionally shows up in here, and it's not the first Ultraman movie to do this, the Zerth movies both had CGI in them, and they didn't look great in those either. They looked like, if I'm being generous, PlayStation 2 graphics. These also kind of look like PlayStation 2 graphics. Although, funny enough, as was mentioned in the entertaining info dump, this was done with some mocap, according to the Ultra Wiki. Okay. But
Okay.
yeah. But the practical work has aged far better. It has aged so much better.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. And I know that this set the model, as I've mentioned, for the movies going forward. But one of the things that I think separates this, even with its flaws, because I watched the Ultraman Arc movie,
Right.
which is a very recent one. This feels cinematic, especially compared to the show, because I've seen the show. And fun fact, Daigo and Reina come back. We don't get Tiga, but we get Daigo in the 2-part finale of Dyna.
Oh, now you show.
Yeah, basically.
Finally, after all the traumatic stuff, River Song shows up to save the day.
Yeah, basically. There's more parallels between Doctor Who and Ultraman than you would realize, actually.
I'm sorry.
But yeah. But anyway, this actually looks cinematic. It looks like a movie.
It does.
You can tell that they're using better cameras. They're using cinematic cinematography. I think some of the best examples are that our James Bond style kind of opening gambit that has almost nothing to do with the rest of the movie, but it's Dyna fighting an evil kaiju on the frickin' moon. I love it.
It is the best giant fight on the moon I have seen in the past 3 years.
It's not the only time that an Ultraman has fought a monster on the moon. There are other examples.
Hey, do you know if that new Ultraman walking around the island's been on the moon?
Ow!
Oh, you all right there?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't sat down and talked with him yet.
Jimmy, does the man need an aspirin?
Jimmy, I will be fine. All right. Trust me. The aspirin's not going to work. Yes, if you must know, this has been happening since Ubermogura crashed. I will be fine. It will pass. This too shall pass. All right, I'll be fine. Anyway.
All right. I trust you,
so Garanda is the name of the monster there at the beginning. He exists just to get beat at the beginning. Although there was a version of the script where they're going to have a red version show up on the island. But then they decided, be too crowded. Leave him out. Smart move. This movie's not even 70 minutes long, so we don't need to overstuff it here.
Right. I am surprised with how quickly that this movie flew by.
Well, it displayed with a anime featurette. That was about 30 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah. That was called Ultra Neon. You probably didn't catch what that actually meant. That means Ultra Meow.
Ultra, yeah.
Meow. Because it was a funny little anime where the Ultraman is a cat.
That's just adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So, like I said, I love the fact that it looks cinematic because Ultraman Arc was basically, and they don't even hide it, it was basically just 3 episodes strung together.
Yeah.
They even present it like it's just an episode of the show. Just extra long. Whereas this knows it's a movie and embraces being a movie.
Yeah. Definitely. I did not get sorry to go on another Ranger thing, but I remember getting a copy of the Psycho Ranger arc in Space strung together as a movie. That felt like episodes being strung together. This definitely felt like it was a cohesive beginning to end story.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I think one of the most cinematic moments in the entire thing that's not the special effects is actually when we have that council scene where like all these I think it's supposed to be different world leaders because there's white people in there.
I know, I was so shocked.
Yeah, and they had Kisaragi, who in my notes for a while I just called her scientist lady because she made the Prometheus. You want to talk about a loaded name. The Prometheus, which ends up becoming Deathfacer. Okay, we got to do this right.
Deathfacer.
And the Monera are using her basically as a literal puppet because they're like, you are so beneath us, you don't deserve to talk to us directly.
Oh yeah, she had that
and
line.
So she appears and she's like, hi, I'm going to monologue about our evil plan. And the camera is she's at the center of this council meeting. And the camera rotates around her in this one continuous shot as she is monologuing on behalf of the villains.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that shot. And that line she gives of, oh, what was it? The main council guy asked why she was there. And she said, we don't acknowledge your question.
Basically, yeah, because the only motivation we get for the Monera is that they view humans, they view human existence as meaningless, which justifies them wiping them out. That is as much like I said, that is as much motivation as we get. Like they are basically pure malevolence. Like I said, Ultraman as a franchise is vehemently anti-nihilism, and the Monera are basically nihilism incarnate.
I mean, what better villain?
And this franchise loves to return to that, especially in like the Heisei era of Ultraman going forward. They love tackling something like this. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Unlike, say, I'm going to be taking maybe some pot shots here at a competing franchise. You look at something like Kamen Rider, where depending on which one you watch, it itself might be nihilistic. Looking at you, Black Sun. We do not speak of Black Sun. I don't care what you say, Jake. I'm not watching it again.
Oh, man. Nothing like nihilism with my Saturday morning tokusatsu.
Hey, it's about beating nihilism in this case. But I will tell you, even though you could, if you wanted to be cynical about it, you can write it off as just being a hyper simple motivation for our bad guys, and there's not a lot to it. But I think that's an oversimplification, because you have to look at it as hero of light versus nihilism. It is meaninglessness versus meaning.
Yeah.
And I think that gives it weight, even though after the first half of the movie, there isn't all that much to the Monera.
Yeah.
Because once they stop using Kisaragi, they get a lot less prominent and a lot less interesting because they're just working through their, death, for the most part.
Yeah. And the like, if you think about the overall, their cover reasoning of using Prometheus is to render Guts meaningless.
Yes.
Is to say we're dumping all of your information into this ship so that way
You're
guys
getting
are
ahead
nothing.
you're getting ahead of this to the Toku topic. Anyway. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, they're trying to say like, oh, we're doing this so that Guts will be safe. And the captain says, it's our job to take risks.
That's why we're aboard her. That's why this is all
Yes. Yes. Because what are they doing with Prometheus? That was their cover story. Let's get them there. They said, oh, we want to download your experiences and put it into the ship because that will be beneficial for it. Is that not exactly what we do with AI? Why do you think I picked this as the Toku topic? It is when I was rewatching this, I'm like, now I feel justified with this Toku topic. That is exactly what we do with AI. It either calls from human experience or we input human experience into it and it spits out things.
Yep.
It spits out results.
Yeah.
Because it can't do it itself. And we think we can make human beings meaningless because we will replace them with this, which makes its name all the more appropriate, I think. I was thinking about that. I was like, you don't just slap a name like this onto something without it carrying some weight. The Prometheus. For those who didn't get educated in the classics, Prometheus in Greek mythology was a titan. No, not the Monsterverse variety, but was a titan who defied the Greek gods, who I might add, took over the world from the Titans because the Titans were first. And Prometheus gave the gift of fire to humans. In some cases, it was through technology of some kind. It wasn't just simply fire. It was basically knowledge and technology. It was like this massive gift to humans. And this angered the gods so much that Zeus had him bound to a rock and sent an eagle, which was his emblem, to eat his liver, which in Greek culture was considered to be the seat of the emotions and the psyche. We think of it as the heart. That's the organ we go with. But for the ancient Greeks, it was the liver. The eagle would come and eat his liver every day, and then it would regrow, and then the eagle would just come back the next day, do it again every day. That was his punishment.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy the overall concept of Prometheus used in different media because you always have that character, and obviously the most famous one I can think of is Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus.
The modern Prometheus, yeah.
Of, I'm like Prometheus, I'm bringing fire and knowledge to the people. But no character that does that and proclaims that remembers the ending of that myth.
Yeah. Now,
and
I feel
it all comes to bite them on the butt.
Yes. And I feel like the way they do it here, there's a bit of irony to it because you could argue it has that name because this is supposed to be Kisaragi saying, like, this is my gift to you. I'm giving you the gift of this ship that is even more powerful than Ultraman Dyna and will protect the world and blah, blah, blah. By the way, in case you didn't know, Dyna comes from the word dynamic. They spell that out in the first episode. Well, in an early episode. I don't remember if it was the first episode or not. But anyway. But I also feel like we're getting the Trojan horse in this too.
Yeah.
Because as far as they know, it's just a ship and not a big scary robot named Deathfacer. Just saying. You don't name the robot mode for your cool ship Deathfacer. It's bad for PR.
Yeah, just a little bit. I both was not expecting, and it actually had me sit up in my chair a bit when Asuka gets into the pod, and Science Lady just throws the card on the table for him right there. Just it'll be over soon, Dyna. It's like,
Yeah, she because she's the vessel for the Monera at that point. They know. By the way, I read the Ultraman Connection review of this movie, and they made the observation. I think it's an astute observation that chamber looks like a coffin.
yes, it does. Like it reminded me too much of that's. I don't like that. Like, we're just gonna put each of you in this glass vessel, and it'll be fine.
It'll totally be fine, guys. Nothing to worry about here.
I mean, it's just oof. And of course, Asuka being the first one to be like, "Yeah, I'll try it."
Yeah. Although, you know what should have been a dead giveaway that Kisaragi is not to be trusted? Ignore the fact of the irony that the captain points out, which I thought was an astute observation. The thing is, like, this movie is really short, and yet the thematic meat that it has does go by a little bit quickly sometimes, because it's a 70-minute movie. It can only do so much.
Right.
But it is brought up by the captain, and I just wrote like, yeah, this makes it, he doesn't call it this, but I said this makes it an ironic weapon, because he says the TPC is more armed than ever in the name of world peace. This is one of the most Japanese sentiments in the entire movie.
Yeah, this is the peacemaker version of peace.
Yeah, and the Prometheus, the Monera are using the Prometheus, which is also
Deathfacer.
because it's a symbol of humanity's prosperity, which also makes it an ironic weapon. They don't say that, but in my mind, it's like that makes it an ironic weapon.
Yeah, just a little bit of irony never hurt nobody. Just having this, it's for peace.
Yeah.
We care about you.
Yeah. But so ignoring that, and the fact that when we first meet her, she's already giving off a little bit of mad scientist energy.
Absolutely.
The real dead giveaway is that when she is being controlled by the Monera, she has purple lipstick. But as soon as they lose control of her, no purple lipstick.
That is true.
So let that be a warning to all of you kids. Never trust a woman with purple lipstick. Purple hair is fine. Maybe. Don't bring her up, okay? I prefer the blue one anyway.
I don't know. I was always partial to the silver.
Really? You're one of those people?
Or maybe the dreads.
Weirdo. I didn't make that into a Lightning Collection figure. I'm just saying. And I totally don't have both of them.
Totally. I knew it.
Yes, I'm lying.
Anyway,
back to this movie.
Yes, back to this movie.
All the potent irony.
Yeah. I did enjoy all the pep talks that Asuka would get. He got the first one from Mai, and then from his captain, and then from Iruma.
Yeah. The one from Mai is a rare instance where she's actually angry, because she's the token happy girl. If this was a Super Sentai or a Power Ranger show, she's your Pink Ranger.
Absolutely. 100%
That's the kind of archetype she is.
Yeah.
Oh man, how wild would that be? Just think about that. It would probably be a little redundant, but how cool would that be? Like the Science Patrol is actually a Ranger team, and one of them is secretly an Ultraman.
I mean, I'm just saying. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Now, so you're talking about the pep talks. I do want to talk a little bit. It was funny that we were talking about Sonic X. Dyna does something a couple of times in this movie where I'm like, Ultraman Hedgehog? Question mark? Because it's one of the bits of CGI in this, and it looks really weird. Where he curls up into a ball and he just spins around.
I mean, hey, if Spielberg can do it for Hook, we can.
At least he's not flying around.
Yeah, that was just glorious. Just a little Ultraman pinball.
You're being generous there.
Bing, bing, bing.
An Ultraman pinball. But yeah, like I said, the CGI bits in this kind of weird.
They are definitely a product for their time. I was not expecting a full spaceship filled with, like you said, PS2 early.
Yeah, the
PS2
Monera. I wonder if that's another reason why they just decided they need a human avatar, and then we're gonna drop all of that, probably because they don't look great.
Yeah,
They look like PS2 graphics. Like that entire scene that they have for when it's supposed to be, you're seeing them as they're speaking through Kisaragi. I'm like, just put up text that says press start, because it looks like a video game.
just especially rocking the same shot twice.
Yeah, they only had so much time to work on this.
Yeah.
By the time when they started production on this movie, only 2 episodes of the show had aired.
Oh my goodness.
So we're talking, that would have been, I believe, let me double check. I'm pretty sure that would have been September.
Okay.
Yeah, September. The show started airing September 6, 1997, and went all the way to August 29th, 1998. So they put this movie together in 6 months.
Jeez. That's.
And they had to write it in such a way that they didn't contradict anything, because they only had 2 episodes initially.
Oh man, the speed and just kind of serpentining around, shooting the show and shooting the movie. My hat is off to Subaraya. That's
Hey, our boys, the Power Rangers, had to do the same thing.
Yeah, but
Boys and girls, I should say.
Oof. At least then it's like 2 sets of prop people, 2 sets of costuming. But this was like everybody has to work on 2 separate things at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and just to let you know, because they had to work very quickly. Like, what is it? I've got the timeline here for, they started planning in July 1997. So a couple months before the show it started airing. They had an outline finished by the end of the month. The first 2 drafts of the script were done by early August. And then they finalized the script on August 13th. And then there was a 4th draft with revisions August 27th that took care of the fact that Hiroshi Nagano wasn't going to be in it.
Oh my goodness.
And then the final approved script was finished September 11th. So that's how fast they were
so
working.
Quick.
Yeah. And just to let you know, like we were talking about some of the things that they dropped, like the Red Goranda, and they had to get rid of Daigo and all that. They initially were not going to have
Deathfacer.
the Prometheus was going to turn into a different robot called Silver Bishop. And was later renamed Genocyber, which I'm pretty sure is something from an anime.
Makes sense.
If that sounds like some ultra, is it called Genocyber? I'm pretty sure it's called Genocyber or something close to that. It's like this ultra violent 90s anime. I saw a clip of it. I'm like, oh my word. I don't think I could watch this.
Oh man. Yeah. Silver Bishop.
The Silver Bishop. Sounds
Amazing.
like a chess. It sounds like it was going to be a chess piece or something. Yeah. And then what were some other things they were going to have? They were also going to have Asuka hear the voice of his father, and then it would have flashed back to the Ultraman Tiga era, and they would have actually gone to the Art Desai, which was from an episode, which was from episode 20 of Ultraman Tiga.
There were a lot of shots, especially when Asuka's unconscious, when they're just playing bits of Tiga, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
And it would have been during that sequence where Daigo would have transformed into Tiga and come help him.
Okay. See, the more I'm hearing that he was supposed to be there and that there were plans in place, I'm like, oh, but the frustration of what could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then another proposal they had would have focused on the 7-year gap between the shows.
That would be
it would have had Asuka going around fighting in places that were quote unquote unknown to humanity. The screenwriter Keiichi Hasegawa, because they only had 2 episodes, he had to be careful how he was writing it, like I said, because he expected that Dyna would get stronger as the series went on. He decided to focus on the theme of him risking the loss of his humanity, rekindling the memory of light and things like that.
I love that scene though, where they're in the bunker and you have the kid with the Tiga action figure.
That is an Ultraman tradition. It goes all the way back to the 66 show. There's in-universe action figures. It doesn't really make sense.
But him saying, my brother turned into light, can I become light too? And then having older people in that bunker going, yeah, I was there. We totally did that.
Which is talking about the Tiga finale.
Yeah, which I love when any type of media does that, where it's, even if it's 2 distinct stories and they're kind of separate, but they take place in the same universe, to have characters that go, I remember this situation or something similar. I know what I need to do right now.
Yeah. And I do like the fact, and I wonder if this was done on purpose to be a bit symbolic, that figurine is clearly a Bandai.
Yeah, clearly a Bandai.
It's not as toyetic as modern tokusatsu has gotten. Because, I watch Kamen Rider Zest. That sword the bad guy uses is clearly the toy. It is very plasticky.
Very plasticky.
Very plasticky. But regardless, I like the fact that toy is worn out. It looks very well loved. And I wonder if that's supposed to be symbolic.
Yeah. The little interaction with him and Asuka, where he's like, you're in Guts? You must suck. You're giving up. And Guts players would never give up. If I was your captain, I'd fire you.
Well, the kid did get his attention by smacking him in the butt.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he doesn't veer into Ultra Kenny territory.
I'm from Notre Dame country. I recognize those punches.
But yeah, that was endearing, if a little weird.
Yeah.
A little weird with the like I said, the in-universe toy. It is a little strange. It's almost meta, but not quite.
Yeah. And having it turn into light just as Tiga is showing up.
Yeah.
For just a brief moment, I was like, did Tiga get turned into a toy?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the ending of Tiga. So, like, for some reason, I thought, oh, well, he's not here, but that toy is going to turn into Tiga. But no, it was a sweet moment of everyone just giving their energy to Dyna's spirit bomb. I mean, to Tiga to show up.
Actually, since we're kind of talking about thematic stuff here, what did you think of the captain's analogy about the pitcher's mound?
I mean, as a Cubs fan, shout out to Kazuhiro Fukudome. They love baseball. And I love that analogy of the pitcher being on the mound so that everyone can see him and he can get the energy of the team, because I always see comparisons of baseball to one versus an army. because as a batter, you're alone and you face everyone in the field. But to have that elevated position so that way you can draw strength from your teammates on the other side, I thought was beautiful. And I love the rejection of it, of Asuka saying, I'm not a pitcher, and walking away, but then using it later to kind of bolster himself up. I thought was really good.
He mentions that people think pitchers are lonely because it's almost like and I'm going to expand on his analogy. It's like the mound is a mountain and they're there by themselves. And he says that's not the case. It's there so they can draw strength. And I would add to it, and it's not just so they can be at an elevated position to draw strength from their teammates. I would also say they're also there to encourage their teammates. They're in an elevated position to inspire them.
Yeah, completely agree.
Which I think also pans out in the rest of the movie, because it's Dyna standing up to
Deathfacer.
that it inspires people to, well, because he tries to fight not just
Deathfacer.
but the Monera, and then he loses, and that's what inspires him. It's like, no, we're not going to lose. So it's not a one-way transaction here.
Right. I think back to the Thunderbolts, where, Red Guardian has that line of, you wanted to be a goalie. You told me you wanted to be a goalie because you wanted to be the person people can depend on if they make a mistake. And so that's kind of, because Dyna, he runs because he's afraid of the thought of being disintegrated, which, I mean, completely understandable.
Yeah. You make that whole scene makes you wonder, was that just a nightmare to scare him? Was it a premonition? Because he's haunted by it the entire time.
Yeah.
And then I give him credit. I thought that was one of the cleverest things in this movie, where he doesn't even try. I feel like they could have just done the simple thing, because in the nightmare, he tries to do a beam clash with the Neo Maxima cannon, which is also in the show. And he very quickly loses the beam clash. They could have just done it where he does the beam clash, but he wins. No, he's like, screw that. Screw that. And he punches straight through the
Deathfacer's
chest and takes out the cannon. I'm like, okay. I kind of love that.
I did like his big return when he grows, and it's just him with Deathfacer.
It's a little inexplicable, but sure. I have seen that tactic used by Ultras before.
I'm sure all the time now that you got one of your own on the island. So
I haven't seen him do that yet.
No? So interesting. But yeah, I liked it. I liked the message of him running away at first and people thinking that he's dead. And it goes into the villain's arc of, without Ultraman, you are nothing. Your defenses are nothing. We will render Ultraman nothing. And we implant in his head
that he's nothing.
That he's nothing, and that he will be nothing facing us. But through the course of talking to everybody, it was, but I'm hope. At the very end of the day, even if you kill me, I'm hope, because I'm not going to, he keeps saying he wants to be an invincible Superman. So I like the idea of, well, if I'm dead, at least I'm going out fighting.
Yeah.
And again, I will forever be something to somebody.
Yeah. Again, anti-nihilism.
Yeah.
Even when Ultraman is dark, it's anti-nihilism. And I love that this franchise. That's one of the reasons I love it. Yeah, and there's some interesting lines toward the end there related to that. There's that people can become the light come to me.
Give me your energy.
Lines. That's two separate lines. Light come to me is Shin Asuka saying that.
Yeah.
But before he gets his second win. And let's see. The little kid says, Tiga and Dyna won, and then Kisaragi, because she has completed her redemption arc after she's no longer under the Monera's control, because she's like, can I be the light? And he's like, uh-huh. And she says, no, the light and the people won. And I'm like, ooh.
I'm pretty sure it was the Ultraman though that punched punched the alien to death.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have been able to double punch him if
But
not
totally
for
the
that.
light.
Yeah. And Dyna, this ties in with the show. I think Aruma kind of figures out that Shinasuke is Ultraman Dyna because she knowingly looks at him and says, successor of the light, which is setting up stuff that gets resolved in the show.
Which I think would be like the fact that he went up to her and was like, hey, you were around with Tiga. I need to talk to him. I feel like that would be your first clue. It was random guts recruit being like, hey, I need to talk to Tiga about like what he did the last time.
Yeah, which actually makes sense. And he thinks Tiga is invincible, which is interesting. So yeah, there's a little bit of hero worship there.
Yeah, I think he even says like, I can't be like Tiga and Invincible Superman.
Yeah,
which was his go-to the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should mention, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Prometheus. Prometheus does get freed from the rock where he's bound by Hercules, interestingly enough.
We already agreed the first time you visited the chamber, Hercules is the Green Ranger in the mythology Rangers.
Yeah, for the Argonauts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that conversation. Wow.
Yep. Right up there with all the trauma.
Right up there with all the trauma. Yeah. So I think we've gone over quite a bit of stuff about this movie. So I'm just going to throw in a couple, miscellaneous notes I might have, and then we'll move on to the Toku topic, I think.
All right. Sounds good.
So I'll mention, I wrote in my notes when we get to the point where it's the Queen Monera is going nuts and just wrecking the city. I was like, someone just saw Gamera 2, because this reminds me a lot of Gamera 2. That whole sequence, because there's a scene with, I believe it was there was the flower that ends up destroying a huge part of the city. That it reminded me of that. I love the captain's line when they're like, what are we going to do? How are we supposed to get over there? We don't have a transport to go help Dyna. And he says, we're going to use the most powerful transport of all. Slaps his thigh and says, our legs.
Is the sun rising? Go that way.
I loved it. He might be one of the 90s shows, particularly Tiga and Dyna, for what I can remember, have some really great captains for their respective teams. And the fact that Aruma was a captain and she's a woman, that is, you want to talk about really kind of breaking the mold there a little bit, because Tiga was the first Ultra series that had been produced in Japan in 15 years. Like, Tiga was the grand return of the franchise.
Dang.
In Japan, and they came out of the gate with that. I did make a note that we have these scenes because we get some military action in this where they try to fight Deathfacer, and so we have shots of tanks, and I'm like, they look like PNGs.
Just the shot of the initial Super Gut ship hitting the water and then splashing after breaking the surface. Just like, okay, just remember when this came out. Just remember.
Yeah. Also, I gotta say, I would be curious, since you watched a different translation than me. I have to know if they translated this. So I may even stick in the Mill Creek version and see if the subs are different. But for Image Entertainment, when Kisaragi appears to the council members, and you hear one of them say, Kisama. Now, that is a very common Japanese insult. I have seen it translated a multitude of ways. If I understand correctly, it literally, if you translated it literally, it means Lord of the Donkeys. But I see it get it's most commonly translated as a-hole.
Yeah.
This one has one of the, or it just says you ellipses. That's another common translation I've seen. In the subtitles for the Image Entertainment release, it says, "You witch."
I don't
What
remember.
did it say for you?
I don't remember offhand. I know at one point someone gets called a dumbass. And
I've also seen Kisama get translated as that too.
and one of the few Japanese
Sorry,
words,
parents.
well, one of the few Japanese words I know, idiot.
Yeah,
It's-
baka.
Yeah, and it was just baka.
Yeah, I
And
hear
was
that a lot from my pseudo sister.
like, I'm sorry. That's rough, bud. You're
At
not
least you're
wrong.
sympathetic. At least you're sympathetic. I'm probably going to get an angry phone call from her after this, where she's like, "You tell him that you deserve it," or something. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's
Well, you know what, Jessica? Just you go keep fighting evil by moonlight. I'm just saying.
But I hope you don't win Love by Daylight.
Oh,
I got your back, man. I got your back.
wow. Going to get letters.
I bet you run from a real fight.
I'm gonna have to contact that Ultraman to protect me from the other superhero on the island.
How's that headache of yours going, by the way? Is it getting
Yeah, it's subsiding. I'll be fine.
okay? That's good.
I'll be fine.
All
I'll
right.
be fine.
But yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that was one of the more creative translations that I've seen, but that's one of those words that I pick up on pretty well. And one last thing about the special effects. There are some pretty ambitious shots in this that I'm pretty sure were green screen, and I'm shocked how good they looked.
Yeah. Special effects. There were a couple of shots I was very, very impressed by how good they look. Particularly the Guts eagle flying into the building with all the miniatures, I thought was really well done. It's one of those, like, you kind of know, but it's still cool to see.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing, it's something that gets touched upon, but it seems like it's a fairly common dilemma in a lot of stories. I would actually say Shin Godzilla actually deals with this pretty head on. And it's a conversation between Mai and Shin Asuka. And she tries to basically pull rank, where she says, like, well, I have seniority over you. And he's like, yeah, and I'm better at the job, basically.
Yeah. Oh.
And I'm like, oh yeah, seniority versus competence. What a dilemma.
I like the callback of it at the end when they're in the ship, and she's like, "And I'm still your senior," and I think he says something like, "Oh, I'll never look down on you again." And my first reaction was, "Well, of course you're looking down on her. You're in the back seat. She's a level lower than you. You're looking down on her all the time, and she's way shorter."
You know what?
What'd you put in this coffee, Jimmy? I'm feeling great now. Does Rito know you took that? You know what? I'm not going to tell him if you don't.
I don't want to know where that bone powder came from. I'm afraid to ask.
It's a little chalky, but you know what? It's doing the job.
I'm just saying, Rito. I just want to remind you, you may have gone one step beyond your friend, or I should say father-in-law, Ed, but there's a reason why Ed still has to wear a codpiece.
Yeah.
We're on a roll today. All righty. But with that, we'll play a quick little podcast ad here for one of my compatriots in the Culture Box Network, and then we'll get to our Toku topic. This week, we recommend the Untold podcast. This is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story, presented in a unique and dynamic way. Check out the Untold podcast at untoldpodcast.com to listen and leave them a review on Apple Podcasts. In fact, actually, that makes sense because we're about to get into a lot of stuff that involves science fiction and even a little bit of fantasy, believe it or not, too. So, Rob, might want to unmute that microphone there. What are you doing? I know you're a semi-professional podcaster and all that, but
I'm sorry, man. This stuff that Jimmy made me. Whew. Okay,
Jimmy, you need to do something about whatever this concoction is, okay? We can't keep giving this to the guests. No excuses. None. Oh, now the wife made it? Gee whiz, throwing her under the bus? My gosh, man.
It's all right. My communicator, I alpha programmed it just for this moment. And I'm good. Just a little electric shock.
Oh, okay. I'm glad it was only an electric shock and not something else. All right. Anyway, are you okay? You okay?
Yeah,
okay?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right. We're good. All right. So hopefully this will be a brief. My process for researching Toku topics on this show is a long process of whittling down, let me tell you. Because I will read several sources, and sometimes it will be a fire hose of information. So then I have to select what I think is most pertinent to the subject, compile that, and then I will go through and highlight what I think are the most important points or the most interesting points for my audience out of that. And sometimes I don't even get to all of those on the show. So yeah, it's a process. This is going to be an overview. I am not getting into all of the major events in the development of artificial intelligence. I recommend that you check out MIFV's website for this episode to get the list of sources so you can do more investigation into this subject yourself. This is your starting point. I've always thought of the show as that, as well researched as it is. That is part of the show's brand. And I have to keep that going. It's extra work for me, but I don't care. It's a good thing I enjoy this stuff. But yes, we're doing this because of
Deathfacer.
the heck, Jimmy. I don't care if I sounded like your microphone for a second. Jeez. We'll do it live. Anyway, so because of all the stuff with Deathfacer, I figured I should research this. It has gotten, I did it once before, like I said, on the power trip. I feel like just in that short amount of time, it feels like the subject has gotten only that much more pertinent.
I don't know whatever you could mean.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a chat about it.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, come on, Jimmy. No, he gets the rim shot for that one.
Thank you.
Jeez, everyone's a critic. Still don't know where all the buttons are.
Well, you'll get it figured out eventually, Jimmy.
We'll get it figured out eventually. But I am going to start, as we like to do, as all good academic discourse should be done, looking at you, modern day scholars. You might suck at your job, I'm just saying. All right. So we're going to start with definition. So what exactly is artificial intelligence? That is not the subject of this, but I need to explain what it actually is. So according to Wikipedia, It is, quote, the capability of computational systems to perform tasks typically associated with human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and decision making. It is a field of research in computer science that develops and studies methods and software that enable machines to perceive their environment and use learning and intelligence to take actions that maximize their chances of achieving defined goals, end quote. Got it? You got it?
I got it.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for some odd reason, when I was working on this, I thought, didn't Rob work in IT? He looks like an IT guy.
I wish I had the brain for IT. So I had Alpha do everything in the chamber.
This is true. So you have an artificial intelligence helping you out.
I do, yes. The
Yeah.
37th incarnation. Well, now
I thought it was 38.
Well, it's about to be the 38th. I had the
38, yeah.
37 until
Yeah.
people decide
Is this like Brainiac? What is it, like Brainiac 35 or whatever from the
Yep.
future or something? Like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. By the way, there is a related subject to this, namely transhumanism. I will not be getting into that because I've already covered it. Go listen to MIFV all the way back to episode 3 of MIFV, where I tackled transhumanism as part of my coverage of the Godzilla anime trilogy.
It's like an audio version of that yellow box in comic books where it's like, this isn't the first time we've met each other. See issue number 3.
I have gotten to the point now where I have such a vast library of coverage that I can do plenty of self-reference.
And I thought we were saving the self promotion for
Shameless self-promotion?
Yep.
Yeah. Have you forgotten that I am not limited to the end of the episode, sir? All right. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is a much older subject than you might realize. And that's because the concept of imbuing inanimate things with life goes all the way back to antiquity. It goes all the way back to the ancient myths themselves. Just to give a few examples, one of the most high-profile ones, particularly if you're a Harryhausen fan, Greek mythology, Talos.
Yes.
Talos, he was a bronze statue created by Hephaestus, god of the forge, and he served as the guardian of Crete, and he would throw boulders at invading ships. And mentioned Hercules earlier, Talos was eventually defeated by Jason and the Argonauts.
I mean, throwing boulders at enemy ships, it's good work when you can get it.
That is for sure. And this is a really interesting one. I feel like this is a mythological figure that people are aware of, but I don't see this story adapted as much as things like, Jason and the Argonauts, because, it's got golden fleeces and ships and monsters and all that. Pygmalion. Are you familiar with Pygmalion?
I am not.
Pygmalion was a king and sculptor who became absolutely disgusted with the state of women because he was hanging out in a city where there was a lot of prostitutes, and he's like, they're all disgusting. So he made a sculpture of what he said was his ideal woman, and he fell in love with it. In some sources, the statue is named Galatea, and he would go to the temple of, depending on it would either be Venus. The source I looked at, it said Venus, so it's Aphrodite, and would pray and make sacrifices for them to bring him a woman who was like his statue.
Just the thought of creating your ideal situation and then telling people, find me that.
Well, I think some even interpret the reason why he gets brought up in this discussion is some also interpret that story as him saying, bring my statue to life. And I'm like, that's what people are doing. We have an entire class of people who have become Pygmalion because they make AI girlfriends.
Whew, that's a rabbit hole I don't wish to dive into.
Neither do I. Neither do I. And then there's some other examples that I'm not going to get too far into the weeds about, but you have stuff like the Golem, which was a clay figure that got brought back, that was brought to life by putting a paper with the name with one of the names of God in its mouth. You also have homuguli, and an example of that would be in Faust, the second part of the tragedy by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, which was an artificial construct that would live in a jar.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we mentioned Frankenstein, because the topic of artificial beings started getting really popular in the 19th and 20th centuries. We mentioned Frankenstein, like I said, but have you ever heard of a Russian playwright named Karel Čapek?
No.
All right. You're familiar with a word he popularized. He may have not invented it. He says his brother invented it, but he wrote a play called RUR, which means Rossum's Universal Robots.
Oh.
He introduced the word robot. And interestingly, he got that word from a Czech word, robota, which, from what I read, quote, is associated with compulsory or forced work performed by peasants in a feudal system, end quote.
With the history of robots and how we're making them to do our... Yeah, that tracks.
Yep, it tracks very well. And you would also have speculative essays like Samuel Butler's Darwin Among the Machines and Edgar Allan Poe's Maisel's Chess Player. This is a theme. This is really going to be a theme. I have not read this yet, but it is an essay where he wrote about somebody who claimed to have made an automaton called the Turk that could play chess.
I remember the Turk.
Yeah.
And of course, jumping a little bit, who can forget that Jeopardy player Watson?
You're getting ahead of ahead of this. We'll get to that. We will get to that. But it was at that point when I was reading, it's like I could do two whole other topics, I think, that they could spin off from this in future episodes. So I may have to file them away to do that. Namely, artificial intelligence in fiction and artificial intelligence in military applications.
Mm.
Both could be very interesting. But speaking of automatons or automata, that's the fancy words for it. Those were the words that were used before the advent of robot. But these were their own thing too. They were humanoid figures created by craftsmen that were believed to be imbued with real minds capable of thought. And they were used as sacred statues in temples. They first appeared in ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. And then in the early modern era, so we're talking like right after the Middle Ages, thereabouts, just to connect it back to modern day AI, it was believed they could answer questions that people ask them.
And of course, we all know that they have their own island nation now, Automatopoeia. As soon as you said the name, I was like,
Wow.
I'm making that joke.
Wow.
Me and Jimmy locked eyes. He was like,
wow. Wow. Now, if you really want to impress me, spell it.
So on the subject of the automatas.
Yeah, automatas. Yeah, let's get back to that. So this was interesting. And this is fascinating to me because I haven't read this book in a long time, probably since high school. And I am going to be rereading it for the next Ultraman episode because it's pertinent. Watch the movie, you'll understand. Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. Published in 1726. It's a satirical novel. You want to talk about being ahead of the curve. There is a part of the novel where Gulliver encounters something called the engine, which is a mechanical contraption that helped, quote, scholars in generating new ideas, sentences, and books, end quote.
You just blew my mind, sir.
Yeah.
The amount that I've retained from Gulliver's Travels could fit in a Lilliputian's library. So
Wow.
that I
That
had
was
no idea.
impressive.
Thank you.
That was impressive.
Evil
But yeah.
Knievel couldn't make that leap.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, I had no idea about the engine.
The engine, yeah. And according to one of my sources, quote, scholars turn handles on the machine, which rotates wooden blocks inscribed with words. The machine is said to create new ideas and philosophical treatises by combining words in different arrangements. End quote.
Does the G in ChatGPT stand for Gulliver?
I'm starting to wonder.
Gulliver's Probable Travels. That's
Yeah, there you go. You've just rebranded it. But when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
wow.
Oh, that is wild.
Even
Absolutely
wow.
wild. And then you jump through, and there are people who are not only tackling ideas like this in fiction, but they're tackling ideas like this in science with mathematics and philosophy and all of this. You know, you have a guy like Charles Babbage, who was considered the father of the computer, designed the analytical engine, which was a mechanical general purpose computer, basically. But he never completed it in his lifetime. But but his ideas were foundational to modern computing. But he had a collaborator named Ada Lovelace, who is considered to be the first computer programmer. And she speculated that a machine could one day compose music and process language.
Yeah, I don't believe it, Ada.
So, philosophically speaking, the foundation, the basic assumption of artificial intelligence is that the process of human thought can be mechanized, which is called formal reasoning. And it has a very long history. It goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks with Aristotle and all those guys. We're talking the first century BC, first millennium, BC. It's very old. It's a very involved topic that could be its own thing.
Yeah.
And I do not have the time to get into that.
Nor do I. We would be here for.
Yeah.
I'd
But it
have to
argued that
actually-
rational thought or intelligence could be broken down into mathematical equations, basically. According to Wikipedia, in answer to German mathematician David Hilbert's question, can all of mathematical reasoning be formalized? Someone said first, they proved that there were, in fact, limits to mathematical logic, to what mathematical logic could accomplish. But second, and more important for AI, their work suggested that within these limits, any form of mathematical reasoning could be mechanized, end quote. So, jump to the 20th century. We're still kind of in the preliminary era of AI. Like I said, I am glossing over a few things, even here in my notes, but, we only have so much time. This I did not know about. We already talked about the whole thing about playing chess, all right, with the Turk and Edgar Allan Poe. That becomes a running theme with people trying to make artificial intelligence. They like games, and in particular, they like chess. Well, I did not know about this. In 1914, there is a Spanish engineer. I have never heard of this gentleman until I did my research. His name was Leonardo Torres y Quevedo. And he made the first chess-playing machine, which was called I may say this wrong, I'm sorry, El Dorcista at the Exposition Universelle in Paris. It used electromagnets, and it was fully automated, and it could do a simple chess endgame of king and rook versus king, and it did not need human intervention at all once it was set up. And it could autonomously make legal chess moves. And if a human made an illegal move, the machine would signal that there was an error. So it would actually get angry if you cheated.
Oh my goodness.
I'm totally anthropomorphizing, but it would actually, that's basically what it did. It's like, nope, illegal move.
Oh my
And
goodness.
if you put it in a winning position, it could checkmate a human opponent.
the amount of machines that can play chess. I'll never understand chess, so you could literally just have the machine move the king straight across the board and say it wins, and I'll be like, yep, that's
Kings don't work that way.
exactly.
Anyway, this brings us to what is considered to be the beginnings of artificial intelligence, at least as we understand it. And so we have to talk about a guy whose name kept coming up all the time in my research, Alan Turing, who was a British logician. Have you ever heard of Alan Turing, Rob?
I actually have. I actually know something. This is awesome.
Oh,
The Benedict Cumberbatch movie, the Imitation Game.
the Imitation Game,
He
yes.
plays Alan Turing, and also
He was Alan Turing in that?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. That the whole
Now I
movie's
have
about
to see it.
yeah, the whole movie's about how he developed what we're about to get into.
The
But
Enigma machine.
it's also
No. He cracked the Enigma machine. That's what it was.
Yes, he cracked the Enigma machine during World War II, and is also the reason his passing, sadly, did give rise to inspiration for Apple, and that's why it's a bitten apple as the logo,
Really?
because that is how Alan chose to end his own life.
Oh, he bit a poison apple like Snow White?
Yes, because Alan was, and you can look this up, Alan was a gay man, and though he helped England during World War II, he was chemically castrated for it. And rather than live like that, he bit a cyanide laced apple.
Oh. Whoa. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hot dang. Did not know that. That's intense. Okay.
Hence
Anyway.
why the apple for Apple has a bite out of it.
Wow. I don't know what to do with that. Anyway, so we aren't talking necessarily about Alan Turing himself, but about the work that he made to contributing to AI. Basically, Turing formulated ideas that form the backbone of how we understand AI.
Okay.
So, according to Britannica, quote, in 1935, Turing described an abstract computing machine consisting of a limitless memory and a scanner that moves back and forth through the memory, symbol by symbol, reading what it finds and writing further symbols. The actions of the scanner are dictated by a program of instructions that also is stored in the memory in the form of symbols, end quote. This was called a Turing machine, and all modern computers are basically one of these.
Okay.
So there you go. And yes, he was a cryptanalyst during World War II, so that interrupted his work on all of this, as the war did for basically everybody's lives.
Just a little bit, you know?
Just a little bit. That pesky little war because of that ridiculous German with the funny mustache and
I think his name was Clyde.
Clyde. I thought it was Gunther. But yeah, so that interrupted everybody's lives. And he then gave his earliest public lecture on all of this in London in 1947. And that mentioned computer intelligence. And he said, quote, what we want is a machine that can learn from experience, end quote. And that, quote, the, quote, possibility of letting the machine alter its own instructions provides the mechanism for this, end quote. Then in 1948, he introduced a lot of the central concepts of AI in a report he wrote called Intelligent Machinery. But he didn't publish this paper, and a lot of his ideas got reinvented later by others. For instance, one of his original ideas was to have a network of artificial neurons to perform specific tasks, which was something that he called connectionism. Neural networks became a thing later in AI development. I thought it was a Star Trek thing, because I remember hearing that term a lot watching Star Trek. Neural networks, those are a thing. You would think I would know that, given the fact that I work with somebody who makes his own robots. Never came up in conversation. Yeah, sure.
Whatever you say, Jimmy.
Whatever you say, Jimmy. Oh, now the truth comes out. I'm not smart enough for it. Sure. Dude, I watched Godzilla Singular Point and understood most of it. A likely story. You're just jealous. You're just jealous that you don't have a PhD. That's why you can't understand it. Honorary doesn't count. Anyway, back to AI talk. All right, 1950 was a landmark year for the study of AI, thanks to Mr. Turing. Do you know where I'm going, Rob?
I assume it's a test of some sort.
You're getting there. Yes. He published a paper, and I did find this paper. And due to time constraints, but also, honestly, for the irony and the lulls, I found a PDF of it. And Adobe is funny. And it asked me, it's like, do you want an AI summary of this paper? Because that's what it does by default with everything. So I'm like, oh, why not? Just to see what it does. And it took this 22-page essay and broke it down to a 4-page summary for me. I went over the summary. I kind of scanned over the essay itself, but I went over that 4-page summary just to see if there was anything that I could include in this whole thing. And it got really into the minutia of stuff. And this is a history. It's not a talk about what AI actually is and things like that. But I at least had a grasp of what Mr. Turing said in this essay and why it was important. But yes, I had an AI give me a summary of one of the seminal essays on the development of AI.
It really goes to show the how far it's come, that even the artificial intelligence of Adobe looked at it and went, whoa, man, this is way too long. Let me give you the bullet point.
It does that for all of the scripts I get from Scyther now, too. Maybe I should have it give me a summary just to see what it does. Right. I'm waiting for it to come back and just be like, I am confused. What is this? Yeah.
What is a Bandora?
And who is Rito? Who is this Rito person? This Rito person is mentioned a lot. Actually, he's not. But anyway, yes, it was called Computing Machinery and Intelligence, and introduced, you were talking about, you mentioned Imitation Game. That was something that was actually in this paper. It was a thing he made he came up with, and ended up getting a different name later. But in his essay, he called it the Imitation Game. It was later renamed the Turing Test in his honor.
Yes.
And it asked the important question, basically his thesis, which is a question, and you don't typically want to have a question as your thesis. I know this, trust me. But the central question of his essay was, can machines think? There's a lot to unpack in this essay, and it's beyond the scope of this Toku topic. However, I will give you the Britannica summary of what the Imitation Game or the Turing Test is. Quote, the Turing Test involves 3 participants, a computer, a human interrogator, and a human foil. Although, if I remember correctly from the essay itself, I think he said it was a computer, a man, and a woman. Just to make sure that,
sign of the times.
I'm telling you what the primary source said and not, what the secondary source is telling you. All right. The interrogator attempts to determine by asking questions of the other 2 participants, which is the computer. All communication is via keyboard and display screen. The interrogator may ask questions as penetrating and wide-ranging as necessary, and the computer is permitted to do everything possible to force a wrong identification. For instance, the computer might answer no in response to, "Are you a computer?" and might follow a request to multiply one large number by another with a long pause and an incorrect answer. The foil must help the interrogator to make a correct identification. The number of different people play the roles of interrogator and foil, and if a sufficient proportion of the interrogators are able to distinguish the computer from the human being, then, according to proponents of Turing's test, the computer is considered an intelligent thinking entity. End quote. You get all that?
I believe so.
All right.
I think I did.
If this sounds familiar, it's because it likely inspired the Voight-Kampff test. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Although it was originally in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, which is what inspired Blade Runner. And in that, it was used to test androids, which in the book, they're called Andes. In the movie, they're called replicants. It was used to test for empathy to see if they were human.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then in 1991, this is interesting. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but this is related to the Turing test. In 1991, you had an entrepreneur named Hugh Loebner who started what he called the Loebner Prize and promised to give $100,000 for the first computer to pass the Turing test and $2,000 to each best effort. None of them did, but in 2022, a guy named Max Wolf, who was a data analyst for BuzzFeed, only the most upstanding of publications.
Of course, I trust no other form of news.
Yeah, it's right up there. You know, it's right up there with BuzzBlast. I hear good things about BuzzBlast. Okay, fine. BuzzFeed absorbed them, but who cares? Or is it the other way around? I don't know anymore. All right. But this guy claimed that ChatGPT passed it. But his claim has been disputed.
I would definitely dispute that. There are certain characteristics of a ChatGPT, no matter how you organize your own personal settings, there are always hallmarks to tell you that this was AI.
Mm-hmm. I've also found some other goofy quirks with AI. I've attempted to use it. I am by no means, I have a complicated relationship with AI, but I've at least tried to utilize it as something of a tool, usually for research, and I keep having to fact check it.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT mainly to work on my voices. If I'm trying to be like, oh, I need a more malevolent, villainous voice, I just have it give me a short monologue so that way I can be like, oh, put myself in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good representation for the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, there you go. But at this point, I'm just like, play nice with it. So when the robot apocalypse happens, they won't kill me. And
I, for one, welcome our mechanical overlords.
You're going to be conquered by steampunk robots at that point. Yeah.
Perfect.
Mechanical overlords. All right. 1951. So a year after that seminal essay, a guy named two people, I should say, named Marvin Minsky and Dean Edmonds built the first artificial neural network. It was called the Stochastic Neural Analog Reinforcement Calculator, which is hilariously abbreviated SNARC. It was an early attempt to model learning processes in the human brain. And they were using what was called reinforcement learning. And this is the goofy thing. It says it was, one of my sources said it was designed to simulate the behavior of a rat navigating a maze. Because they thought that if the machine can mimic the way animals learn through rewards and punishment, then it wouldn't be that hard to adjust its behavior. Because what you want to do to make an AI is make it feel like a rat trapped in a maze. This can only end in good.
Oh yeah, only good things. Only good things.
Only good things. Here's the funny thing. The term artificial intelligence didn't come about until a few years after this, which was when it became an official academic discipline in 1956, but it was coined in 1955 when they were talking about doing this. And it was at a quote-unquote landmark conference at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. It was organized by a handful of people, notably John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Claude Shannon, and Nathaniel Rochester. So it was a small group of researchers who thought that, quote, every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine can be made to simulate it, end quote. So people were exploring those ideas, but it became an official term and field of study 1956. All right. So going from there, again, I'm going to be highlighting what I thought were some key points. It is by no means exhaustive. So mentioned John McCarthy. These engineers and their funny acronyms. He came up with a programming language that was tailored toward AI. And it says it would remain influential for decades. This programming language stands for Lisp, LIS processing. So its name is Lisp.
Oh, that's sensational. That's what that is.
You sound like my friend Gary at the at the Monster Island Legal Action tape. I think that's the language he speaks. I'm not sure. I'm sorry,
What?
Gary. I've gone all this time and never pointed it out, but yeah, we love you anyway.
I'm going to have to speak to legal action after Rito crashed into my power chamber. So that's
in
good
Rito's
to know.
defense, he got punted.
All right. Well,
Ow.
JFK didn't mean to be in front of the bullet. Are you doing okay, Nate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I
I'm
feel
fine.
like Jimmy,
Anyway.
have you been giving him decaf?
You what?
That's what I thought. Yeah, decaf.
I need to be caffeinated and motivated, sir. You have denied me half of it.
Hey, Alpha, can we get Nathan some of those espresso crystals you came up with? Thanks.
Wait, espresso crystals? What?
It's fine. You just mix it in with your coffee. It's all good. You'll be fine.
You're sure it's caffeine, right? An espresso.
That's what Alpha tells me.
You have a proper alpha, right? And not the weirdo cracked out one on Tubi, right?
No. It's a standard Alpha model.
Okay.
Straight from 5. It's just 32 models ahead.
Okay. Got it. All right. Yous can do math, and I can speak lolcat. Anyway, 1959. Arthur Samuels. He pioneers the concept of machine learning by making a computer program that improves its performance at checkers. We've been talking about chess this whole time. This guy's like, screw chess. I'm doing checkers.
Now that's a game
There
that
you
I
go.
understand. Checkers.
He said that he demonstrated that a computer could be programmed to follow predefined rules and learn with scare quotes from experience and eventually be able to play better than the programmer. Maybe the programmer is just lousy at checkers. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's what nobody asks.
Yeah. And according to my source, quote, his work marks a major step forward to teaching machines to improve through experience, coining the term machine learning in the process, end quote. There you go. 1965, a philosopher named Herbert Dreyfus published a paper called Alchemy and Artificial Intelligence and argued that the human mind operates fundamentally different from computers. You think?
I mean, only physically.
Yeah. And he predicted the limits of of AI progress due to the challenges of replicating human intuition. I think we kind of leave it to scholars to point out officially what we all know instinctively, because machines can't replicate human intuition and understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, unless your name is Jet Jaguar, you're not going to pull this off. Okay. And I think I'm still as much. I love JJ, but I think he was a fluke.
How's he been? I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, he's doing great.
Perfect.
He's been doing great. Yeah. No need to worry about Jed. He's been doing fine. Especially when he decided to switch to a new and improved version of his original body and not the singular point body. That was weird.
Well, good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, 1965, I.J. Good, what a name, wrote a paper called Speculations Concerning the First Ultra Intelligent Machine. That's the name of my first heavy metal album right there.
I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, that was the name of my band in high school.
Yeah. We are the ultra intelligent machines. I don't believe you for a second. There's no way you can play an electric xylophone. Anyway, he asserted famously, apparently, that an ultra intelligent machine is once an ultra intelligent machine is created, it can design more intelligent systems, making it humanity's last invention, provided it remains controllable.
Of course.
That sounds like the title of a sci-fi novel right there. Humanity's last invention.
And it'll come down to a robot who can butter your toast.
Before it launches all the nukes.
But at least it'll give you something to eat while it does it.
Good thing I'm friends with John Connor. Anyway, also 1965. Another funny acronym. These are basically the forerunners to these chatbots that we have now. One was developed by a guy named Joseph Weizenbaum at MIT, because of course. Yeah, and then there was another guy named Kenneth Colby at Stanford University who made another one of these. So these are programs that were designed to mimic human speech. One was called Eliza. The one from MIT was called Eliza.
Okay.
And it could simulate a Rogerian therapist.
A therapist.
And yeah, even though according to my source, it had no true understanding of language. And then the other one was called Perry.
Hey.
And it was called Perry because this particular one was designed to behave like a human experiencing paranoia. And apparently it fooled a psychiatrist. They couldn't tell.
What does it say, Professor? That tea kettle has been spreading lies about me.
And then in 1966, researchers developed programs that could understand geometry, language translation, and robotics. And at Stanford, at the Stanford Research Institute, they unveiled their first robot. His name was Shaky.
Yeah, it's just mean.
And he was the first mobile robot, and he was able to reason about his own actions using perception, planning, and problem solving. And because of this, there was a 1970 Life magazine article where Marvin Minsky, we mentioned that guy before, predicted that within 3 to 8 years, AI would achieve general intelligence of an average human. I think he was wrong unless he's talking about Jet Jaguar. You're friends with Shaky? How's he doing? Still shaky. Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
But apparently Shaky, despite the name, is considered a milestone in robotics and AI.
Well, I mean, there has to be a first something.
Yeah. So here's something interesting. So the 1950s and 60s was full of enthusiasm about AI, but then it waned in the 1970s because funders like the US government were skeptical of it and didn't see AI as being as viable as they were promised. And this led to what was called the first AI winter, a time when interest and funding was lower in the research field. And this lasted from 1974 to 1980.
An AI winter.
AI winter. Yeah, because the real world problems were far more complex than the early systems could handle. Language processing was, quote unquote, stymied by ambiguity and context. You think? Game playing programs hit computational limits. You think? And expert systems, while useful in narrow domains, struggled to generalize knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Tuin, for again telling us the obvious. That was the author of my source. So Stanford, in about 1972, Stanford University developed a program called MYCIN, MYCIN, which was an expert system that would assist doctors in diagnosing bacterial infections and recommending antibiotic treatments. But due to ethical and legal concerns, they never implemented it in clinical practice. Also, and then another event in this time, I had this, wow, my notes are a little out of order here, but this is supposed to be 1970. A guy named Terry Winograd made Shrdlu. I don't know. SHRDLU. This was a natural language understanding program, and it could interact with users in plain English and manipulate objects in a virtual block world.
Minecraft.
Ha! He invented Minecraft, which might eventually end civilization. Who knows? And it's considered an early achievement in natural language processing, or NLP. That's a term that I saw a lot in my research. Yeah, so it's like, what was it? A large language. What is it? LLP, large language processor, because that's what most of that's what all the AIs people use now commercially. That's basically what they are. Yeah. All right, 1980s. AI had a resurgence after that first AI winter because of with the rise of expert systems, which was software that mimicked decision-making abilities of human specialists. Thank you, Mr. Tuin, for that. And the most famous one was called XCon, which was developed by Digital Equipment Corporation. And it was used to configure computer systems. And it was adopted for fields like medicine, engineering, and finance. It's supposed to offer rule-based solutions to complex problems.
That just sounds like a sci-fi villain's, like
XCon.
XCon.
Yeah, sounds very comic booky. According to Mr. Tuin, quote, these systems relied on vast databases of if-then rules carefully encoded by human experts. They performed well in narrowly defined tasks, and for a time, they gave AI a practical edge in the business world. AI labs expanded, investment surged, and expectations were again on the rise, end quote. But the problem was that they quickly found the limitations of these systems. They were brittle, inflexible, difficult to maintain. And if you added new rules, it would lead to conflicts, and the system would struggle with quote unquote dynamic or uncertain environments. Is anyone surprised by this? Has no one watched Captain Kirk completely devastate a female android? And then Spock destroyed another android by giving it basically an impossible problem, which was, what I tell you is the absolute truth. Everything I say is a lie.
That's good.
Completely killed the android.
That reminds me of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, where a rich kid had paid to have the robot dog Goddard copied so he could have his own. And it had an artificial intelligence, so whatever Goddard did, it would process it and make its own system for it. So if Goddard had a big gun, this other dog would have a big gun. Until finally, Jimmy rationalized that Goddard has a self-destruct sequence. So he tells Goddard to play dead. Goddard explodes. Siri has activated.
Yeah, I mean, with a cameo by an actual AI.
But he tells Goddard to play dead, so Goddard explodes. So the evil robot dog explodes to copy him. The problem is, Goddard's the only one that has a built-in reassembling system. So he could put itself back together.
Wow. Wow. But unfortunately, the hype outpaced the results. So then there was a second AI winter in the late 80s and early 90s. So a few notable things that happened in the 80s related to AI. You had the Wabot, WABOT 217, which was a humanoid robot developed at Waseda University in Japan.
Of course.
Yep. Started in 1980, completed in 1984. It followed Wabot 1, which was built in 1973. And while that first one was focused on basic mobility and communication, Wabot 2 was designed to be a musician. It could read musical scores with its camera eyes and converse with humans, play music on an electric organ, and accompany a human singer.
I mean, the name alone sounds like it's a Dave Matthews Band song.
Wabot.
The Wabatu.
Wabot 2. Yeah. And then also in Japan, 1982, they launched the 5th Generation Computer Systems Project, or the FGCS, to develop computers that could handle logical reasoning and problem solving. It aimed to build machines capable of performing tasks such as natural language processing, which we now have, and expert systems. It was halted in 1992, but the project and its findings were a huge contribution to the development of quote unquote concurrent logic programming, end quote. All right, 1986, David Rummelhart, Jeffrey Hinton, and Ronald Williams, not Robin, Ronald.
Oh,
They published, and this is another seminal paper. It was called Learning Representations by Back Propagating Errors, where they described the back propagation algorithm. Never heard of this until I did this research. Quote, this method allows neural networks to adjust their internal weights by back propagating the error through the network, improving the ability of multi-layer networks to learn complex patterns. The back propagation algorithm becomes a foundation for modern deep thinking, sparking renewed interest in neural networks and overcoming some limitations highlighted in earlier AI research, end quotes. Got that from Moochie. Oh, and we were talking about Apple earlier?
yes.
1987 at the at EduCon, Apple CEO John Sculley gave a keynote speech where he presented the Knowledge Navigator video that imagined a future where digital smart agents help users access vast amounts of information over network systems. He saw it coming.
No.
He saw it coming. And this video has a professor interacting with a, quote, knowledgeable voice-activated assistant who can retrieve data, answer questions, and display information from what we now recognize as the internet. End quote.
And what year was this?
1987.
Oh my gosh.
1988. Judea Pearl publishes Probabilistic Reasoning in Intelligent Systems. And this introduced what was called Bayesian networks, which was, quote, a formalism for representing complex probability models and the algorithms for performing inference within them, end quote. Also 1988, Rollo Carpenter developed Jabberwacky, which was an actual chatbot designed to simulate human-like conversations that, quote, are interesting, entertaining, and humorous, end quote. Because unlike rule-based systems, this could actually learn from human interactions to generate more natural language. So it's basically, it really is the forerunner to ChatGPT and Grok and all the rest of them.
Wow. Jabberwacky.
Jabberwacky,
Uh,
which sounds like a character that should be on Monty Python.
did it celebrate the Fraptious Day? Kalu Calais?
Thank you for that. That makes me happy. All right, 1990s. It's considered to be another AI winter despite massive advancements. Although I'm going to be honest with you, for what I've seen of the 90s was less interested in AI and more obsessed with virtual reality.
Yeah.
It was a strange time.
But we're real troopers getting through that strange time.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right. According to Mr. Tuen, quote, researchers made advances in knowledge representation, how to encode facts and rules about the world and ways machines could use. Meanwhile, AI-driven robotics matured. Mobile robots like the robot dog Aibo and NASA's Mars rovers used AI to navigate complex environments, end quote. Sure, you helped make that happen. I don't understand your biography anymore. All right. 1993, a science fiction author and mathematician, although I've never heard of this guy, Werner Vinge, he published an essay called The Coming Technological Singularity. So remember how I said that I did an episode that talked about transhumanism? A big part of transhumanism is the singularity.
Mm-hmm.
And in this is where the term came from. He predicted that superhuman intelligence would be created in the next 30 years and transform human civilization, and that technological advances, especially with AI, would lead to an intelligence explosion. That's the name of my band's second album. Machines surpassing human intelligence. And at the end of this human era, and that this will be the end of the human era as we know it, and it popularized the technological singularity, like I said. Wow.
The day the machines take over.
Yes. And then in 1995, a guy named Richard Wallace made another chatbot. It was called Alice, or Artificial Linguistic Internet Computer Entity. You know that joke? Can't remember if it was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or if it was in one of the MCU movies where somebody asked, why is it called S.H.I.E.L.D.? And they said, they said like somebody really wanted that to spell shield. Somebody really wanted this to spell Alice.
Oh yeah. That's the best algorithm or anagrams.
Yeah.
Is that you start with what you want it to say and then you break it down later.
Yeah. So unlike Eliza, this actually leveraged the World Wide Web. So it was using the internet to collect and process a bunch of data on natural language. So it really is just like what we're seeing now with ChatGPT and Grok and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it used a pattern matching technique called AML, or artificial intelligence markup language. And it could use that to parse and generate responses. And it was a lot more adaptable and scalable. 1997 was considered a watershed moment when, oh man, I remember this. I remember this, my friend. You brought this up earlier. IBM's Deep Blue.
Yes. The infamous man versus machine chess showdown
Against Gary Kasparov. They had a 6-game match. And Deep Blue won. Yep. Yeah. Although it says that Deep Blue relied on brute force search rather than learning.
It would be a machine's thought to just keep going no matter how much it's getting better.
Yeah. Interestingly, Mr. Turing anticipated this 50 years before this, but his prediction that it would contribute to understanding how humans think did not. This came about through advances in computation and not really AI. But, it was great for sensational headlines about how a robot defeated a human.
Right.
At least it's not checkers. All right, 1998, Dave Hampton and Caleb Chung. I can't believe this was brought up in my research on artificial intelligence.
Yes, we must talk about them.
These two guys made Furby.
The Furby.
I talked about Furby before in my episode on Rebirth of Mothra 2 because that movie predates Furby and there is an ugly abomination of something in that movie that can heal people with its urine, and it looks suspiciously like Furby.
For the younger listeners out there, a picture of Mogwai from Gremlins. Just give it no feet. And that's
Yeah, it's considered a successful domestic robotic pet because it could respond to touch and sound and light. My family had one of these things and we can never get it to do anything all that interesting. But apparently it could learn language. It even had its own language called Furbish, and it could learn more English by interacting with people.
yeah.
We could never get it to work that well.
It took so what would happen was it would start off with kind of a I don't want to bring up Turbo. I don't talk about Turbo, but
We
it would
don't
bring
talk
up
about Turbo.
no. But it would essentially start off as Larago and just have this kind of gurgle language. And then the more you like pet it and kept it running and everything, eventually it would turn into me love you. So
And the part of Furby will be played by Rob Buck. Yeah. All right. And then we get to the 2000s, and this was called a quiet revolution of machine learning. Computer power grew and data became more abundant. So they started focusing more on machine learning. So instead of rule-based systems, they relied on algorithms. Oh, we love talking about algorithms.
Algorithm.
To detect patterns and data and to improve over time. So instead of being explicitly programmed, they wanted these systems to actually learn from experience. So in 2000, Cynthia Breezreel at MIT made a robot called Kismet that could actually interact with human beings through emotional and social cues. And then scientists they revisited neural networks, which were inspired by the brain's structure because they were now capable of identifying objects and language processing. And a very key breakthrough was in 2006 when Jeffrey Hinton and his colleagues introduced what was called deep learning. It's not deep hurting, it's deep learning, which makes me think that because I think Grok can do that. You can make it like think deeply or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this allowed for multi-layered neural networks to be trained more effectively. So now AI systems could rival human abilities that, in things that were before this were considered too difficult to do, like identifying objects in images or transcribing spoken language. Yep.
Yes.
All right, 2009. Continuing the tradition of computer scientists coming up with ridiculous names, at Northwestern University's Intelligent Information Laboratory, they made a program called Stats Monkey. And this could automatically generate sports news stories without human intervention. And it would do this by using game statistics. And it could craft coherent narratives about baseball games, including recaps, player performances, and analysis. What the actual heck? In 2009.
There's a lot of sports articles about the frozen tundra on a cold winter's morning.
And it was called Stats Monkey.
Well,
Lex Luthor having an army of monkeys, trolling Superman on the internet suddenly doesn't seem so weird anymore.
I'm so glad I wasn't the only one whose mind went to Superman. With the stats.
Well, I mean, that was supposed to be the joke about how it's like, if you would need like 1,000 monkeys randomly hitting a typewriter to make one sentence, written by Shakespeare or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, 2010. So we're almost done, people. This has gone on a little longer than I expected. So this was considered a golden era for AI, driven by deep learning and the availability of massive data sets and powerful graphics processing units, or GPUs. This is when you saw companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon putting a ton of resources into AI research. Boy, howdy, don't we know about that?
Oh, yes.
And this was another big one. I remember when this one happened too. IBM's Watson. You remember this one?
The Jeopardy contestant.
So first IBM makes Deep Blue and beats the chess champ, and now in 2011 they make Watson.
Are we sure IBM is not run by an artificial intelligence at this point?
You do realize that the name HAL is one letter away from IBM?
I'm saying, guys. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but Watson, an advanced natural language question answering computer, defeated 2 of Jeopardy's most successful champions, including Ken Jennings, and the other guy was Brad Rutter.
Rutter.
It beat them on TV.
In front of everybody. They're already dead.
And then in 2011, Apple launched Siri, who made a cameo a few minutes ago.
Yes.
2011. 2011. You could beat Watson, sure.
Okay,
What about Siri? You got opinions on Siri? She's a snarky, I can't say that word on the air. All right. You kiss your wife with that mouth?
Yeah, Jimmy, are we talking you could beat Watson as in beat him in competition, or beat Watson because it is a computer monolith and you have access to weapons? Arm wrestling, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's...
Gotcha. All right. 2012, Jeff Dean and Andrew Ng, it's NG. They do an experiment with a massive neural network with 10 million unlabeled images that they got from YouTube videos. Yay. And during this experiment, this network, without prior labeling, learned how to recognize patterns in the data, and quote unquote, to our amusement, end quote, one neuron became particularly responsive to images of cats.
That's where it came from.
That's why there are so many cat videos on the internet.
I say as I look at a picture of my own cat back home.
Yeah. So this was supposed to be a demonstration of unsupervised learning. Don't know how to feel about that. 2016. There was another major milestone when DeepMind's AlphaGo.
No, don't. That wasn't for you.
Defeated the world champion Go player Lee Settle. And this was noteworthy because Go is a complex game, and it was long considered to be beyond the reach of AI. And then AlphaGo, using deep learning with reinforcement learning, showcased a new level of strategic intelligence, according to Tuin. We just love making computers that can beat us at our favorite games. What is wrong with us?
I couldn't even begin to tell you. Go is supposedly like the oldest board game.
Yeah.
So.
Also in 2016, Hanson Robotics introduced Sophia, an advanced humanoid robot. She could recognize faces, make eye contact, and have conversations by using a combination of image recognition and natural language processing. Again, nobody apparently cared about Mr. Jaguar. I'm just saying. And then AI research expanded into this was we've already mentioned this a little bit, but at this time they were expanding into natural language processing, NLP. And that's when you had systems like GPT-2 and GPT-3, which were built on transformer architectures, not the robots from Cybertron, unfortunately. And yeah, they were known for being able to generate coherent text, answer questions, and even write poetry.
That does, it's the big broader question that is too big for this alone. But yeah, the thought of it creating poetry is fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, that's a little beyond the scope of talking about this. 2017, we had researchers at the Facebook Artificial Intelligence Research, or FAIR.
Doesn't sound fair to me. Jimmy, can I have more of that drink you gave me earlier? I'll tell you when I've had enough.
Oh, geez, man. All right. They were training two chatbots to negotiate with each other. This is mildly terrifying. These chatbots were programmed to communicate in English, but they diverged from that and created their own language to communicate more efficiently. It was a shorthand language. Nobody saw this coming. These bots were optimizing their communication without human intervention. And then they, I would say wisely, shut down this experiment to keep them within human, quote unquote, human understandable language. End quote.
Feel like that would be in the recipe of your experiment. Just keep it in English. Don't try to.
That's so insane. That is insane. Thank you, Zuckerberg.
Thanks,
Zuckerberg.
Mark.
Zuckerberg invented Skynet. You heard it here first. All right, 2020s. AI is now part of everyday life. Now people have AI tools that they can use. 2020, OpenAI released GPT-3. Quote, a language model with 175 billion parameters, making it one of the largest and most sophisticated AI models to date. GPT-3 demonstrates the ability to generate human-like text, engage in conversations, write code, translate languages, and generate creative writing based on natural language prompts, end quotes. And yeah, here it is. This is what I was looking for. It's one of the earliest examples of a large language model, an LLM.
Yes.
And then in 2021, Google developed an AI model that called the Multitask Unified Model, or MUM. MUM. That was meant to improve the search experience by understanding and generating language across 75 languages. 2021, Tesla launched the full self-driving beta. So basically, self-driving cars. Then from 2021, 2023, OpenAI launched DALL-E, DALL-E, followed by DALL-E 2 and DALL-E 3, which were generative AI models that could make detailed images from textual descriptions. Boy, we know all about those now.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a lot of stuff that's happened within the last couple of years. Seems like monthly some new AI thing is happening. You know, 2024, Google launched Gemini, and boy, there was a lot of controversy over that. OpenAI announced Sora, which was a text-to-video model that people use to make all kinds of weird things, like Hank Hill henching like a Kamen Rider. Yes, I've seen that.
Kamen Rider propane.
Basically. I will leave you guys with this last quotation here from Tuin, one of my sources. Quote, yet with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you for the Spider-Man reference, sir. Concerns about bias in AI systems. Oh, yeah. Job displacement due to automation. The robots are going to replace all of us. Surveillance and the misuse of AI for misinformation and deepfakes. Oh, man, deepfakes have sparked widespread debate. The call for ethical AI, transparency, and regulation has grown louder. End quote. I'm just saying, we already have the perfect AI. His name is Jet Jaguar. I'm sorry you missed out.
Yeah.
Jet Jaguar is the AI we want. Jet Jaguar is the AI we need.
Really, the one we need, not the one we deserve.
Yes, indeed.
He's a watchful protector.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen Jet? He's saved the island at least a few times by this point. Although now he's got competition from an Ultraman.
I was gonna say, how does this? Have they interacted? Have you seen them interact with each other?
Not yet.
Interesting. They're never in the same place at the same time. Makes you wonder.
Are you trying to say Jet Jaguar is actually the Ultraman?
I'm saying maybe.
Ow!
Man, that decaf really hit you hard, huh?
It's a migraine. I'll get over it. Okay? You are not my mother. Stop
God,
it.
I hope
All right.
not.
That would be incredible. Jimmy? Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Whew. I thought it was going to be like some weird quantum leap situation there. Just, oh, God.
Jimmy is secretly Scott Bakula.
Godzilla. Yeah. What? What?
Jimmy is secretly Scott Bakula this whole time.
Who would have thought? Anyway, we need to start wrapping up.
Yes.
But there you go. Crash course in the history of AI goes a little bit farther back than you think. And sometimes you question why some of these people do the things that they do.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yes.
But again, Jet Jaguar is the AI we all want.
Absolutely.
You're saying, Rob?
Just remember what AI taught us in the 80s, kids. Sometimes the only way to win is to not play.
Alrighty, no listener feedback to go over at the moment, but you, Kaiju lovers, can start filling our mailbag. All you got to do is send us emails at monsteronphonefalt@gmail.com. You can also leave comments on the YouTube versions of the episodes, and the best one of all, leave us reviews on whatever podcatcher that you use, particularly on Apple Podcasts, and we will read those reviews for you. All right? If you want more details, listen to the credits, because you should always listen to the credits. Just saying. All right, Rob. Oh, it's time to get excited. Because you, for the first time, get to participate in the Patreon shout-outs.
I shall ask thee once again, will you chant my name?
Starting with the Day Pass tourists, we have Eli Harris,
The Redeemed Otaku Podcast,
Eric Anderson,
Andrew Winja, the Andrew Ninja,
Edwin Gonzalez,
Jonathan Cartwright,
Leon Campbell,
Michael Watson,
Eric Pearl. And then at the Weekend Pass tourists, we have Matt Walsh, but not that Matt Walsh.
Devin Torrance.
And now at the VIP Pass tourists, we have Daniel Damana of the Godzilla Novelization Project,
Christopher Reiner,
one of my co-hosts on Henshin Power V3, along with Jake Hambrick,
The Cellcast.
And now at the Season Pass tourist, we have executive producer Damon Noyes,
Sam Allred,
Tofu Fury. All the veins just pop. Just explode.
It's great.
It's like a scene in that incredibly stupid Kung Pao movie where he makes one of his veins explode. I might picture that every time I do that. And I've only seen that movie 1.5 times. I didn't know you could count that high. That's a lot of digits. I'm just saying. But why, Jimmy? Why? Funniest movie ever? I don't know if we can be friends anymore. You're kidding? I don't believe you. Anyway, poor taste in comedies aside, you'd think I would love that movie, but I don't. I don't. Anyway, next couple episodes we have coming up. Our next episode, Kaiju Lovers, will be the first Patreon-sponsored episode of Season 5. But it will not be about kaiju, but it will be very kaiju adjacent. It is for the 1981 movie Dragon Slayer. You ever heard of Dragon Slayer?
I know of slaying dragons, but I don't know if I'm familiar with that particular Dragon Slayer.
Go look it up. Go look it up. It's a more influential movie than you might realize. It was actually a co-production between Paramount and Disney. Took a lot of inspiration from J.R.R. Tolkien and The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. It also, and I say it's kaiju adjacent because I consider dragons to be kaiju adjacent. I don't think 90+% of the time that dragons are kaiju. However, my guess for that, executive producer Damon Noyes, because he always gets to do the first Patreon episode of each season because he will not leave the VIP pass. Oh, wait, was it VIP? I can't remember the names of my own Patreon tiers. It's the season pass. He has not left the season pass tourist level since he joined. So he argues that the dragon in that movie actually is a kaiju because it is not designed like a normal dragon. So it is in fact a strange beast. It also has quite possibly the best name for a dragon ever. Vermithrax pejorative.
Thermothrax pejorative.
Vermithrax. Vermithrax pejorative.
I recently came across a writer who was writing a fantasy picture involving a dragon, and he literally named his dragon TLDR in the script. And when I asked him, I was like, okay, so is that supposed to be like a fun pun? He goes, no, say it out loud. And it fits. A mythical dragon named TLDR.
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 Wow. I have nothing. I can't.
This is coming from me, who named my Dungeons and Dragons character Kodak because he was a robot.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So that will be exciting. I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The more I've already started researching it, and the more I've researched that movie, the more interesting it gets. Especially since there was a very nice new Blu-ray and 4K released, which was great timing for this podcast. And it even has a commentary with the director and Guillermo del Toro, who loves that movie.
Did Guillermo have anything to do with the movie?
No,
or?
he was a kid when it came out. No, he just loves the movie. He just loves the movie.
He was just like, can I please do the commentary?
Yeah, he's a fanboy.
Amazing.
I wanted to come on and talk about it because he's a fanboy.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then the Ultra Journey will make another stop in the TDG era with Ultraman Gaia, The Battle in Hyperspace, which was the next movie after this one that was a tie-in with the show that followed Ultraman Dyna called Ultraman Gaia, naturally. And my guest for that will be the return of Kaiju author Neil Reeby, who actually says he likes that one. I think he's more of a Showa Ultraman fan, but he likes this movie.
Okay.
So I'm going to be curious about that one. that one is also going to be amusing for me because, we were talking about how Gulliver's Travels may have, with the engine may have anticipated AI. Gulliver's Travels actually factors into that movie.
Huh.
So I will be rereading Gulliver's Travels in anticipation. It's been a
Once
hot
more,
minute since I've read Gulliver's Travels.
once more to the island of Lilliput.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And now, I'm sure this is one of the moments you've been waiting for, sir. Other than getting, well, no, you've had a rant master, but other than getting a rant master, this is your moment. This is your moment when you get to have some, say it with me now,
Shameless self-promotion.
self-promotion. All righty.
Oh, it feels good.
It
Feels
does feel
good.
good. All right. What do you got for us, Rob?
You guys can find me at the Power Chamber Podcast, which is right now under maintenance after our Rito Bigfoot Ultraman incident. So as soon as I get those bugs fixed, we'll get some episodes going again. Until then, follow me on Instagram, RobBuckVO, where you can hear
VO stands for voice actor or voiceover.
voiceover. Yes,
Yeah.
quite.
Wow. Oh, man, that catchphrase.
I've been waiting for at least to drop one. So find me on that. You can find me on the Scyther Wrestling, Fantasy Wrestling channel on YouTube, where I voice Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, and the patriarch of the Rhodes family, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, as well as a slew of other wrestlers. So check that out. And yeah, I'm just floating in cyberspace in the meantime.
Because you have entered the grid
Yes.
to battle the MCP.
Which one?
All of them. I don't know.
I think I could take Julian Dillinger.
A kitten could take Julian Dillinger.
And also the Power Chamber YouTube channel is where you can find live streams, not necessarily coherent with our series review, and more so talking about Ranger topics as a whole as news comes out about them.
For sure. For sure. Power Rangers is in a very strange place, but so is Super Sentai.
Universe Heroes.
About that. All right. So anyway, really quick. First off, you should listen to the credits because you should always listen to the credits.
Listen to the credits.
Listen to the credits. All right. And then check out my other podcast, Henshin Power V3, where three friends have 3 minutes to talk about tokusatsu. As I mentioned earlier, co-hosted by myself and Christopher Reiner and Jay Cambrick. If you enjoy what we do here and want to hear me talk about tokusatsu television, that's the place to go. We started off talking about Kamen Rider V3 and then moved on to the original Ultraman, Kamen Rider Phase, and believe it or not, we jumped into some anime because we're going by Henshin and not necessarily tokusatsu. The Guyver. I had opinions about the Guyver animes.
You have opinions?
Yeah.
No.
Here's my hot take. That much maligned live action movie might actually be better.
Oh.
All right. And you should also check out my author website, nathanjsmarchand.com, where you can learn about all of the books that I love to write, as well as check out my writing portfolio, see the many, many articles that I have written over the course of my writing career. You can also see kaiju books like Destroyer that I co-authored with several of my really great friends. And there will be sequels to those, hopefully coming out in the next year. You can also check out the Rondo Award nominated book, Giant Bug Cinema, which was a collection of essays about movies featuring giant insects. I was brought onto the project late, so I got stuck with Monster from Green Hell, about giant wasps in Africa in the 1950s. I suppose I could have done worse.
You feel stung by that choice? Thank you.
Well done, sir. Well done. I guess I'll have an excuse when I finally get to that movie on the show where I can cite myself as a source.
There you go.
That's what I'll do. All right. And I also am a contributor to Kaiju United. Do a lot of reviews and such for them. Although I did also write about a concert about the Lost World, which I've done, which was how I launched season 3, the 1925 version of the Lost World. I got to attend a screening of it that featured a live organist. So it really was the closest I have ever come, sans a time machine, to experiencing a silent film as originally intended.
That is amazing. And I am jealous, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll talk about it off the air. You don't need to be as jealous as you think. And then, as like my friend Rob here, I am also a member of Scyther's stable of actors on their audio dramas. They're high quality, fan produced audio dramas. You can hear me as the aforementioned, recently punted Rito on Power Rangers, the audio drama, and of all people, Deadpool on X-Men, the audio drama, and Johnny Storm, baby, on Avengers, the audio drama, whenever the Avengers cross over with the Fantastic Four. All right. I think we got everything, Rob. Thanks once again for coming. I would love to have you on the show again. We've just got to find the right movie, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Or you can do something nuts and join the Patreon and be like, I want to talk about this.
The minute I have a movie that I think would be perfect, you're going to get like a bat signal that I've joined.
Well,
like, he found one.
You do realize there is one Power Rangers movie I have not covered on this show.
We don't talk
on
about
this show.
Oh, I know which Ranger movie you're talking about.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it.
It's on the master list.
No.
I would negotiate. I'd be willing to negotiate about getting to it before my planned coverage of it. Anyway, on that happy thought, Jimmy, cue the credits. Thank you for listening to the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast produced and hosted by Nate Marchand. Our executive producer is Damon Noyes. If you want to be heard on the show, we'd love to hear from you. So email us at monsterislandfilmvault@gmail.com or leave comments on YouTube or Spotify. Check the show notes and monsterislandfilmvault.com for Linktree links to all of our socials, including our Facebook group and Discord server, The Markalite Lounge. Be sure to follow Jimmy from NASA and our other colorful characters on X/Twitter. Our logo was created by Rebecca Hudgens. Follow her on X/Twitter and Instagram at super_R_illustrations. Sound effects sourced from freesound.org and created by JP Gant. Our theme song is Wanderer on the Offensive, live edit by B33J, Sarax, Juan Madrano, and Nonsensical Lexus, which is a remix of Counterattack and The Open Way by Koatani from Shadow of the Colossus. Our music includes Ultraman Rap, Artist Unknown, and Chant My Name, a cover by Second Archive of the song by Masaki Endo, with additional tracks from the 4Kids dub of Ultraman Tiga. All film and audio clips belong to their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended or implied. Visit our TeePublic store, the Monster Island Gift Shop, to purchase official MIFV merch. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and/or Podchaser to spread the word about the show. You can even support us by joining MIFV MAX on Patreon. MIFV is a Moonlighting Ninjas media production and a proud member of Pod Nation and the Culture Box Network. Sayonara!
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. point your web browser to culturebox.media.